Greetings, everyone. Keith here. Hoping everyone's having a good day. Enjoying life, living life, loving life. Be sure to hit those buttons to show your support. And there's a PayPal link below for anyone that wants to share some love. All is appreciated.
Do you know how long the nightmares will last? When a storm rolls in from your shadow past, the wind keeps whispering names you've lost. Every dream comes with a cost. Do you know how long it takes to dream a dream? Is it when the fire burns down to a low blue gleam? You reach for hope, but the night's so wide. Still you keep that faith alive inside. Boots hit the ground, hearts beat the same. Family, faith in the pouring rain. Thunder in the soul, lightning in the veins. Every loss, every scar, just part of the same. You can't outgrow what's carved in your seams, but Lord, you can dream a dream. Do you cherish your memories, visions gone past, and the lessons that life throws hard and fast? You fight, you fall, you rise again, like a stillborn oak in the southern wind. No one knows how long the pain will stay, but you learn to dance in the rain anyway. The blues don't break, they bend and breathe. In the songs we sing and the lives we lead. Boots hit the ground, hearts beat the same. Family and faith's in the pouring rain. Thunder in the soul, lightning in the veins. Every loss, every God, just part of this chain. You can't outgrow your carved in your seams, but Lord, you can dream a dream. Oh, the night don't own you, the past don't define you. Every dawn's a chance to ride again. Boots hit the ground, hands to the sky. Brothers and sisters standing side by side. Thunder in your soul, let the heavens cry. No blame gonna steal this brand. No one knows how long the pain may scream, but I know how it feels.
volume is off, and it was. Greetings, everybody. Keith here, hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. We're coming back tonight with systemic crimes. Most people want to call it government corruption and this and that. And let's be real about it. It's actually crimes, and we need to put a stop to it. It only exists because good men don't do anything about it. So we're going to review some more systemic crimes throughout the system. And the first one I've got is a 17-minute video. I'll speed it up a little bit. But we're talking about the monumental betrayal of public trust as they go around arresting multiple Mississippi officers. Situation down in Mississippi recently, FBI involvement and all that. So we're going to take a look at that. And the link is down there for anybody that wants to join the panel and give your opine, your emotional outbursts, whatever. Please be aware that this is strictly under Hosenzada versus Klein, fair use, commentary, and education. You can see the case scrolling across the bottom there. And I did post it in yesterday's video in the details section. I believe it should be down there. If not, I will double check that and make sure that it's down there. There's a PDF on it. And it is a recent case related to YouTube content creation and reviews. So pay attention to that. This is strictly for commentary and education. We are not a monetized channel, and you have a right to know more so than I have the freedom of expression. So let's get into it.
Making a major announcement in Oxford today about a Delta drug conspiracy takedown. Let's listen in.
Get to you, and at the end of that, we're going to take a few questions, so don't worry. But we're here today to talk about some incredibly serious allegations that mark a it's just a monumental betrayal of public trust, is what we're talking about here today. We're here today to announce the indictment and arrest of 20 individuals, most of them law enforcement officers in the Mississippi Delta region. The indictments generally allege
20 individuals. Now, it was originally 22, and they've since dropped charges against 2 of the women that were involved. So we'll hear about that. And understand, again, folks, like I said, this stuff is systemic. And I'm not fully aware of what this is going to bring in anything other than the drug corruption crimes within the department. But I can only imagine, like other situations when we're involved with drugs, it's also involving the abuse of people through false accusation of drug possession, just like the false DUIs and things like that, that pull them into the system. And under those threats, duress, and coercion, they end up involved in other things. Like we noticed yesterday, there was mention of actual sex rings going on with the case with various individuals involved in government activities, from sheriffs, police, city council members, things like that. It's systemic, and no one's privy to it. It happens to everybody that wants to go out and get a job and have that sustainability to take a paycheck home to provide for their family. And somewhere along the line, they think they're honorable and have integrity and trustworthiness and stuff like that. And ultimately, the failure is that they accept the lies, and not only accept the lies, but they end up perpetrating those same lies themselves and becoming bearers of false witness in their own deceptive lies, being willing to partake in lying now. And this is that aspect of good men do nothing about it. Career suicide. You get involved in this stuff and you don't say anything about it because it would mean it would cost your job and that paycheck again. How are you going to keep a job if you're a whistleblower? Well, that's the problem. It's been covered up for way too long, and this is how it becomes systemic.
the taking of bribes to attempt to aid and abet drug trafficking, as well as associated crimes. The first indictment that I'll talk about involves a conspiracy whereby law enforcement officers and their accomplices are alleged to have agreed to provide safe passage for illegal narcotics and drug proceeds to the Mississippi Delta region, and ultimately on the last of those runs into Memphis itself. And they did
a clean pipeline across what are called state borders, but in the aspect of Admiralty Maritime, that's interstate and intrastate. And there you're talking international, because each state, again, is its own sovereign entity and is, in fact, a nation state.
this in return for bribe payments for money. They are also indicted for related firearms offenses and, of course, individual counts related to specific runs throughout the Mississippi Delta. Indicted in this conspiracy are the following individuals, and when I'm giving you this list of places of employment, a lot of them are still employed, or were up to today, in those places, but the places I'm referring to where they're employed, that's really during the times that are relevant to the charges in their indictment. So
and I think what he's trying to do there is again, separate that accountability. But like I mentioned in yesterday's video, when you start taking charges to the prosecuting attorney and then you get a judicial officer and everybody's signing off of it, then everybody's got culpability, because nobody's doing the job that good men are supposed to do, preventing the bullshit. Okay. And then they turn around and investigate themselves and find they did nothing wrong, because in fact, they did nothing. They didn't even respond to you.
in this particular conspiracy were Brandon Addison, who's a Mississippi law enforcement officer employed by the Hollandale Police Department and the Humphreys County Sheriff's Office at times relevant to the indictment. Javari Howard, a Mississippi law enforcement officer employed by the Metcalf Police Department and later, during the course of the investigation, the Hollandale Police Department.
So again, it's a circular thing that they're involved with, because like we see in many cases, they get fired from one place or resign from one place and then just go to the next town or county over or next state over. Sometimes they're extreme cases, so they go a few states over, but they're never recognized in any kind of Brady list or anything like that. And this is just offensive in itself, when you have to make laws like that to hold them up to their integrity, and then they have so many loopholes that they follow within themselves for investigating themselves. It's just pathetic. And again, it's only because the people that believe that voting for them to be their boss will actually do and say the right things. That's on you. I haven't believed these people in my entire life. That's why I've never registered to vote. I know how that system works, and all you're doing is praying that you can find somebody else that will take better care of you than you.
Milton Gaston, the elected sheriff of Washington County, Mississippi. True Ron Grayson, who was employed by the Humphreys County Sheriff's Office. Bruce Williams, who was the elected, or is at the moment the elected sheriff of Humphreys County, Mississippi. Sean Williams, who was employed by the Yazoo City Police Department. Dexter Franklin, who was employed by the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Wendell Johnson, who was employed by the Bolivar County Sheriff's Office. Now, I want to take note on this particular name. When you see the indictments themselves, you're going to have 22 names. I'm about to explain why we're telling you 20 people are now charged.
And so what I'm actually telling you folks is that no matter how you want to spread the accountability around, whether it be the sheriff, the prosecuting attorney, and the judicial officer that sign off on it, originally it's still going to come back to you, because you're the one that allows this. You're the good man, supposedly. If you are, then what do you have for proof? What do you have for the evidence that says you're a good man, that doesn't accept the lies? If you don't accept the lie, then why is it you accept the lie of resident United States citizen? These are all pertinent to it, because you've been induced into this language and this societal system that says you have to do this, and otherwise you can't get a job, and you have to pay taxes. Otherwise, they'll come after you for tax fraud. You people have been so deceived, and yet you will continue to live it, even though there are people like myself out here proving it, showing you documentation and showing you that you can do that live your life without those kind of threats, duress, and coercion, and simply stating the truth of your capacity. You're the one that provides for the government. Without the people, there is no government.
And so this next individual who appears in the indictment, I want to make this very clear, Based on information obtained today, the charges against Amber Holmes have been dismissed. She's no longer charged in this case and is no longer implicated in any wrongdoing related to this investigation. The remaining co-defendants on that first indictment, the large one, are Marcus Nolan, Hassan Roach, Jeremy Silas, Torio Chaz Wiseman, Pierre Lakes, and Derek Wallace. The first four of those individuals I named escorted alleged drugs on a run to Memphis. And likewise, the last two persons I named, Mr. Lakes and Mr. Wallace joined the conspiracy on a trip that was taken by a number of the co-conspirators to Miami, Florida. A separate indictment charges a conspiracy as follows. It's essentially the attempt to aid and abet the transport and distribution of illegal narcotics.
Those are some pretty long trips. And so I got to ask, did they put that expense for going there, like for the fuel and all that? Did they put that on to the corporate budget? Or what about the vehicles themselves with the tracking devices? Do they have a kill switch for the tracking device? Did they use a kill switch so they couldn't be tracked? What are the details there?
In return for bribes, related offenses regarding the carrying of firearms while doing that, and that the crux of that indictment was the transport of what the defendants thought were 25 kilograms of cocaine through the Mississippi Delta. And those defendants are Jamario Sanford, who was employed at the Greenwood Police Department, Marvin Flowers, who was employed at the Sunflower County Sheriff's Department. And again, this is the second of those names I mentioned to you. You'll see in an indictment the name Taquana Rucker. And again, based on information obtained today, the charges against Ms. Rucker have been dismissed. She's no longer charged in this case and is no longer implicated in any wrongdoing in this investigation. A further indictment charges Martavius Moore, who was a police officer in Greenville, Mississippi, with aiding and abetting the transport of what he thought was 25 kilograms of cocaine and carrying a firearm, of course, during that. Marquavius Bankhead was a patrolman with Mississippi.
And you'll notice this is coming from multiple agencies across the Mississippi Delta. And that's a major import. And remember, I mentioned this in regards to the Civil War. If you guys don't understand the Civil War and ports and everything, and the Panama Canal and all of that, and that was all planned and preemptive. And Civil War was merely a part of the port control of the Mississippi Delta. Louisiana remaining the only Commonwealth state in the United States that still goes by French common law.
Mississippi Highway Patrol. And he has been indicted, and he's no longer with the Highway Patrol. He has recently resigned from the Highway Patrol. He was indicted for, again, aiding and abetting transport of 25 kilograms of cocaine, or what he thought was that. Chaka Gaines with the Greenville Police Department was again charged with attempting to aid and abet the transportation of narcotics, essentially traffic drugs through the Delta, and was likewise charged with a firearm offense related to that. DeQuarian Smith with the Humphreys County Sheriff's Department and the Isola Police Department was likewise charged with conspiracy to aid and abet the possession, transportation, and distribution of illegal narcotics.
Yes, the tribe says Napoleonic law, and that's what the Louisiana territory was all about. Napoleon was in a war himself, and in order to fund his war, he sold the Louisiana territory and claimed title in portion of Louisiana, thereby claiming it under the French Napoleonic common law. And therefore it remains. It's never been changed. The rest of the United States, under that Louisiana Purchase, however, all claim the American common law.
Finally, and this is always important to say at one of these, I'd remind everybody present that an indictment is just that, it's an allegation. That indictment, those allegations have to be proven in a court of law. Everybody in this country operates under the presumption of innocence, and nothing's changed about that. That being said, there's an 18th century philosopher, writer, you name it, evil lot, named Edmund Burke, and there's a quote that is often associated with him, and that is that the only thing necessary for evil to flourish is for good men to do nothing.
The only thing for evil to flourish is for good men to do nothing about it. And that's what we're talking about. The good men are the ones that are claiming that the people in authority are bad men. And yet all you want to do is sit there and squawk like little baby birds and expect your next meal. If you're dependent upon them to be your boss, because you voted it. You're the accountable one. Get rid of that attachment. Change that attachment. Change the capacity of it at least. Let them know you're the boss. And without the people, there would be no institution of government.
And I am before you today profusely thanking good men of the FBI, because they'll tell you a little bit more about the investigation itself, but this was a years-long investigation. This wasn't anything that happened overnight. They invested a lot of time, a lot of resources in conducting a very...
And I'm betting that if we started this in various other situations, like I expressed in the previous video yesterday, where the guy was arrested and thrown in jail for 35 days for reposting a meme of President Trump. And that investigation was instituted by a sheriff claiming that it was a fear of the people, yet there's no evidence of the people in fear. It's just him. And evidently there was actually no threat, as he claimed, because he made the proposition to go ahead and just take it down, and there's no problem. So we see a lot of ethical issues with that one bad man. And I wonder how long it's going to take to investigate him and have him removed, along with the district attorney who signed on for it, as well as the judicial officer. I wonder where those consequences are going to come in. I wonder who's going to hold them accountable for that, while they simply let the man out of jail and say, okay, we made a mistake. No, that's not good enough. You've made the mistake over and over again. It's no longer a mistake. It's criminal. It's not corruption. It's knowing intent based on your feelers and not a shred of law.
thorough investigation that continues today.
Or your absolute criminal activity to make a profit and gain over the very people that you threaten and intimidate and make victims out of in a society where you're supposed to be protecting them and solving the victim problems.
I cannot thank them enough. The work put in by Assistant United States Attorney Robert Mims has been phenomenal. And I just appreciate the fact that good men and good women are standing in that breach to try to restore confidence in our law enforcement.
To try. And he said good men and women are standing in that breach. But you notice it's only the FBI. Again, I'm urging people to get out and do your research. Don't believe me. Don't believe the neighbor. Don't believe the government. For crying out loud, don't believe your mother. Do your research so you know. When you educate yourself on this stuff, you're going to find out all kinds of abundant truth that you can use to your advantage. Because that's what it's for. That's what truth is for.
Agencies in Mississippi. And at this time, I'm very much honored to invite Deputy Director Andrew Bailey to make a few comments.
Good afternoon, FBI Deputy Director Andrew Bailey. I am present here today to support the mission of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and to enhance the cooperation and coordination with our proud partners at the United States Attorney's Office. I want to emphasize that my presence is to underline the importance and the magnitude of this case. This operation and these indictments are a success, but they point to a troubling reality. We're talking about 14 current or former law enforcement officers, 6 co-conspirators who are alleged to have sold out the public, promoted crimes.
Alleged to have sold out the public. No, that's what their job is. Okay, and again, it's your accountability. You're the one making the false claim of resident and United States citizen and this and that. And we're going to talk about something that came out August this year that's going to help explain some of these things when it comes to that identification. Identity is the main thing that's wrong. In logic, the first law of logic is identity. In scripture, the first law is identity. And people keep calling that Christian God, God, instead of I am, as instructed in the Old Testament under Moses when he got the 10 Commandments. The very next verse after the explanation of you're supposed to call it the I am forever, they go right back to calling it God. Amazing shit.
That they should have been investigating and stopped, and instead of working to stem the flow of dangerous controlled substances, the evidence will show they took bribes to facilitate the distribution of controlled substances. They betrayed the trust that the public placed in them, disgraced the badge, and undermined the hard work of good law enforcement.
So they're taking your tax-paying dollars that are paying them immaculate fucking payrolls and taking bribes to use those tax dollars against you to enhance their lives even more, and using the very tax dollars that are spent on their equipment and everything to violate you, shutting off cams, shutting off dash cams, body cams, audio, skewing visions, cutting out the First Amendment auditors for doing the First Amendment expressions. In order to be able to make the expression, you have to be able to record it. That is the violation. And inherently, again, imperatively more potentially dangerous is they are violating your right to know.
Officers across the state and across the region. This corruption permeated all levels. It extended across.
It's systemic. It permeated all levels. What I've been saying, systemic. And he calls it corruption, when in fact the details show that it's criminal activity. It is not corruption. It is criminal.
Multiple counties and multiple jurisdictions in the state of Mississippi and beyond. But the Department of Justice and its subcomponent, the FBI, will not allow the wrongdoing and wrongdoers to get away with it. We will stop these kinds of disgraceful and shameful abuses of public office, and will prove that we will not tolerate corruption amongst America's criminal justice system. I want to acknowledge the brave men and women of the FBI Jackson Field Office and the incredible work they did leading this multi-year complex investigation. I want to thank members of the SWAT and HRT teams for their professionalism in apprehending the suspects, these corrupt officers, without incident. I want to thank our state and local partners for supporting this team effort. I want to thank the Criminal Investigation Division's Public Corruption Unit for leading these efforts. I want to thank the United States Attorney, Clay Joyner, for his partnership.
And I think that's it for that video. I think the rest of it's just all kinds of other details that you can go check out. That is, let's see here. Let's go to this other screen. And that was 16 W.A.P.T. News Jackson from 6 days ago. So it said it right there on the screen. And you can go check that out. Criminals over 98,000 a day to fund McKinney tax piggy department. I'm sure. One thing you guys got to realize, and I've expressed it many times, and people still don't comprehend and they still want to disagree, but you can go to Federal Rules of Civil Procedure and see that it says there is one form of action, civil. So when they pull you over on a traffic violation, which is a civil offense, and then charge you in a criminal court, what they're doing is violating your rights. They have no authority to bring any criminal charges. That's a common law offense, and it has to be brought in an Article 3 court, not an Article 1 corporate court. So let's take a look at the next one. Is a piece of information that I brought up a few years back. Oops. And it's an interagency supervision and regulation letters. Supervision and regulation letters. Oops. Interagency order, SR 20-23. Interagency order granting an exemption from customer identification program requirements for loans extended by banks and their subsidiaries to all customers, okay, to facilitate purchases of property and casualty insurance policies. Okay, this was October 9th, 2020, and it was kind of limited to facilitate purchases of property, which many people don't understand this term right here under American jurisprudence. It is merely the right of enjoyment of possession and use of a thing for one's benefit. And this is known under a imperfect usufruct. And this is where we get into the identification. That's what the usufruct is. Okay. Again, the individual's name and social security number identifies the record. It does not identify yourself. So when we think about this, the identification is related to the record itself. And it says here, the Federal Reserve Deposit Insurance Corporation, the National Credit Union Administration, the Office of the Comptroller of Currency, and the U.S. Department of Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, hereinafter the agencies, are issuing the attached interagency order to grant an exemption from the requirements of the customer identification program. Okay, but again, I tell you, it's limited to facilitate purchases of property and casualty insurance policies. And that was October 9th of 2020. So let's go to the new one. This came out, this is SR 25-2. And this came out August 15th of this year of 2025. And it says, order granting an exemption from the customer identification program rule requirement related to a bank, and they're talking about a Federal Reserve Bank. You have to understand credit unions and all those other subsidiary banks operate through the central banking system, which is one of the Federal Reserve banks. They're not allowed to operate as standalone banks. So each of those banks operates within the Federal Reserve Bank that has authority and enforcement over that particular jurisdiction, that district. Obtaining taxpayer identification number information from the customer. Okay, and as a customer, I have an option. I have an option here that since I don't have identification, I can require them to get the information they're looking for, the identification information. And I have a birth certificate in my possession. And I have information relative to the Social Security Administration that I can have them fill out an SF-89, wherein they will forward it to, I can forward it to the SSA, Social Security Administration, for them, or they can forward it with my authorization to get that records of information for their specific purposes, which is identification. Why would I then need to go to the DMV to get a state photo ID when the paperwork itself will do the identification? This is what you people don't understand. It's all in the paperwork. It's already automated to work a certain way. All you have to do is figure out the routing. I'm trying to show you the routing is automatic and to let it do its job. And slowly, the system is catching up to exactly what I've been telling you. So hopefully this is an opportunity, this particular thing here, as we continue to read, is an opportunity for me to go forth with the birth certificate to the local credit union, which I have already had an account with in the past. And I have used it in the past when I did have my job to cash checks. Even though I did not have an ID, they still have the information on account. All they did was close the account. They still have the information. They're required to hold it. To the officer in charge of supervision at each Federal Reserve Bank. And like I said, every bank, U.S. Bank, Bank America, all your little local banks, your credit unions, they all have to work with one of the local district reserve bank to do all the international transactions. That's the central banking system. Okay. Order granting an exemption from the customer identification program rule requirement related to a bank obtaining taxpayer identification number information from the customer. So they're going to get the information through the SF-89 form from the Social Security Administration. They're the ones holding the information. They're the ones that's going to qualify it for that specific purpose and no other purpose. Identification only. No incursion of debt. No transfer of credits. The Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System Federal Reserve, with the concurrence of the U.S. Department of Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, is issuing the attached order to grant an exemption from the requirement of the CIP rule related to banks subject to the jurisdiction of the Federal Reserve obtaining taxpayer identification numbers. Information from the customer prior to opening an account. Prior to opening an account. Effective immediately, banks supervised by the Federal Reserve can utilize this CIP exemption and should update their CIP policies and procedures as needed. The order permits banks for all accounts at all banks and their subsidiaries subject to the Federal Reserve's jurisdiction to instead use an alternative collection method to obtain TIN information from a third-party source rather than the customer, provided that the bank otherwise complies with the CIP rule, which requires written procedures that enable the bank to obtain TIN information prior to opening an account, are based on the bank's assessment of the relevant risks. They want the Social Security number, they can get it directly from the Social Security Administration relative to the birth record that I have in my hand, so they can correlate that information based upon the assignment as original to the enumeration at birth. That's the record they're looking for. And 3 are risk-based for the purpose of verifying the identity of each customer to the extent reasonable. And the extent reasonable is that I am the benefactor, which gives to the beneficiary the individual's name and identity, or name and social security number identify the record. That is the beneficiary. That is the third party. Social Security Administration, they are the holder of the record. Third party source. If they are talking directly to me, I'm a first party or second party in the direct communication. They're going to get it from a third party that's not involved yet, and we're going to involve them because that's the information they're looking for is from a third party, not me. And practicable. So it's got to be practicable. What more practicable than going to the one that made the assignment? Enabling the bank to form a reasonable belief that it knows the true identity of each customer. Isn't that the same thing they use at the D.U.M.B to assure the identity of that employee, resident, U.S. citizen? If it's valid there, why would it not be valid here? The use of this exemption by banks, see, it's an exemption, not an exception, by banks is optional. Banks are not required to use an alternative collection method for TIN information. But if there's no other one available, can they violate my right to contract with them by saying you have to follow this when there is another option? See, that's your right to contract. And I have that option as a remedy outside of your statutes because this is the one that mentions that remedy. The CIP rule implementing Section 326 of the USA Patriot Act. Like I said, it correlates to the U.S. citizen and state resident under the USA Patriot Act. Same as the other one did. Requires a bank to have a customer identification program that includes risk-based verification. It doesn't require me to identify. It requires the record to be identified. Procedures that enable the bank to form a reasonable belief regarding the identity of each, quote, customer. Why do they have it in quotes? Including, at a minimum, obtaining the customer's name, date of birth, address, and identification number. I'm giving them the date of birth and the identification number. I'm correlating with the Social Security number that the other party is asking for. And now there's established record of 2 witnesses already. Why are you asking me? and to establish risk-based procedures to verify the identity of new customers. I'm an old customer, and I'm just re-verifying the information I already gave you in the past, and now I'm just correlating it to the original instruments that were used to give you that state identification prior, and I'm just using them in a different way and routing the information from a different source. I'm not giving it to you myself. I'm telling you to go ask the Social Security Administration for that number. I've got the birth record right in my hands that I paid for from the Secretary of State, Bureau of Vital Statistics. Generally, to fulfill the CP rules, identification number requirement. See, it's an identification number requirement. A bank must obtain TIN information from the customer, except with respect to credit card accounts. The Federal Reserve and FinCEN recognize that considerable changes in the way that customers interact with banks and receive financial services have occurred since Section 326 of the USA Patriot Act was enacted into law. When was that? 2003. The importance of collecting TIN information from the customer rather than through another method for identification and verification purposes has lessened since the regulations implementing Section 326 were adopted in 2003. Remember 2001? Particularly in light of the availability of new methods that a bank can use alongside TIN information to form a reasonable belief that the bank knows the true identity of each customer. It's been used to know the true identity through state identifications since the system evolved. It's the same method, but going through a different entity. Instead of going through the DMV, you're going directly through the state's Social Security Administration, already connected to the state's Secretary of State, Department of State, Bureau of Vital Statistics, under the birth registration from the local hospital that then goes to the Health and Human Services Estate Recovery Program. Health and Human Services establishes the estate, and Social Security number is assigned through Social Security Administration with an agreement to do so. That's their agreement. They did that. They assigned that record a number, and it's their record, not mine. So let's continue on with the videos, guys. I'll grab that link and drop it in the chat for everybody, so you can go read that. Anything you have questions on, again, you can ask me and I'll give you my opinion, but I'm going to tell you, don't believe me, go do your research. And some of the best research is to go ask your banker. And I suggest private bankers, particularly ones that like credit unions. Find a good credit union with a private banker so you can set up a trust account based on a credit account. Rental agreement means credit agreement. It establishes a credit account. You can do the same thing. You can use contract language to form your own contracts. So let's take a look at the next one. This is a police captain federally indicted for attacking a man and lying in report after DA declined charges. It's from Lawyer Explain Stuff. Says 2 days ago, but I think it's a few more because I've had this in the key for a couple days. November 3rd. So yeah, 2 days ago. So we're going to speed this up. Bring it up. And again, that is Lawyer Explain Stuff. I'll drop that link as well. And I want to remind everybody of the caveat on the bottom of the screen, legal defense under fair use, commentary, and education. See, Hosenzaida versus Klein, fair use for commentary and education. We are a non-monetized channel, open for commentary and discussion only.
This former police captain was caught on camera clotheslining this inmate, and he's now facing federal charges.
Now, the former high-ranking officer is accused of assaulting.
And the one point I want to make here that they make later on in the video is that there is no training, and I did some research on it myself. And again, I'm going to tell you, don't believe me, go do your own. But later on, they do discuss the actual fact in here that that led me to do the research, which I found seemingly conclusive. There is no education in police training on a proper clothesline tactic for takedowns of any sort. And yet that's what he claimed. He had training for that specific clothesline takedown, and he did it safely, despite the fact that when he took the man down, it is very clear there's a metal door behind him, concrete walls, edges, that it could have easily ended up splitting the man's head open and killing him. There is no such training for violence. That's criminal.
Detainee and lying about it in his report.
So when the Essex County District Attorney's Office, quote unquote, investigated this case, they determined there should be no criminal charges. But then the feds got involved and had the opposite view and decided to charge this former captain.
Here's another look at the video we exclusively obtained. Police arrested Sodiq.
Again, the feds get involved before charges are made. Where are the people standing up? Where are the people demanding these public records? Where are his relatives? How come this is being held back? And we see plenty of videos out there, First Amendment auditors and freedom of information auditors and access to information auditors. These are all different categories of the public record that we're supposed to have access to, and how it's supposed to be expressed, and how we have authority to do so, but yet it's still being denied. How is it that all these people that are supposed to be the good men are the ones that are denying it, while the good men demanding it are the ones being denied? And therefore, it kind of limits the ability for the good man to do anything about it unless he himself starts, like I said in different platform earlier, unless he himself detaches from that system and helps remove these kind of people through holding them accountable in some manner and replacing those people with good men, either good men he knows or himself as one of those good men. When are people going to start stepping into the accountability department, putting their paychecks down and saying, hey, there's a higher purpose. I got to do it for this, regardless of the paycheck. I got to make my stand.
With numerous cops around and two right in front of him, there is a huge power imbalance, and any threat to safety is somewhat minimized by all of this.
And the minimum threat to safety, and if you watch the video, again, let me drop the link to this so everybody can check it out. It's interesting that they claim officer safety. They claim clothesline, trained in clothesline tactic. That's pure violence. And these are the coward cucks that we have in these positions claiming officer safety. And they're the ones that are the safety issue itself. They're the violent ones. They're the ones perpetrating most of the crimes. They're the ones making people criminals and victimizing them in that criminalization. And the rest of the public sits back like sheep and says, oh, yeah, see, you got yourself arrested. You shouldn't have been doing that. Like the guy on the video last night, standing up for his freedom of speech by posting a meme, and they come arrest him. And his wife says, well, he thinks it's all about freedom of speech. But I was trying to tell him. What were you trying to tell him, ma'am? What were you trying to tell him? That he needed to cuck up or shut up? When are you people going to get it?
See him going to attack the officers. Who knows what words were being said, but does it really look like a reasonable and justified use of force here? Imagine if this guy hit his head just right on the metal door or the concrete floor or the hard wall. This could have easily on the metal door or the concrete floor or the hard wall. This could have easily been fatal. And if it was floor or the hard wall, this floor or the hard wall, this floor or the hard wall, this could have easily been fatal. And if it was, we'd be talking about more serious charges, possibly something like manslaughter. If this had been fatal, I don't know if the county DA could have escaped filing charges. Also, imagine.
I don't know. I imagine if I was caught slamming a guy's head into a concrete wall, doing a choke tactic like that, and had a vest on with a gun, a weapon, a firearm, they might want to try to charge me with murder, not manslaughter. I think that's the kind of charge they would try on a regular man. But since they're an officer, some kind of leeway comes in. What happened to the mention of immunity? See, where's that? Where's that going to come in? See, that's one of their favorites. Oh, I'm immune. I didn't know that I couldn't do that. The fuck you don't. You don't even know the law. How the fuck do you think you can pose that you can enforce the law? That's the obvious, ironic, idiotic epitome of the whole thing. Absolutely not. See, that's why I say I wonder how many good people there are. We're going to go over some videos later on. I'm going to be on for a while, and there's going to be some exposés about that Sheriff Stein down in Electric County, Kentucky, that shot Sheriff Judge Mullins. And there seems to be all kinds of sex rings and shit like that going on, and cronyism and involvement by the judge and all these other people. Not just direct involvement, but knowing involvement, knowing it happens, and sitting back because they need a job, not doing anything about it until they find charges being pressed against them, backing the blue until it happens to you. And it happens consistently within and without the ranks. The guy that posted the meme in the one video was an ex-police officer. He retired from the police force after many years. Once they retired, evidently it doesn't matter. Now they're going to look at you as one of the subject victim criminals to make. They're going to form you into a criminal because you're no longer within their ranks. You're no longer part of that cronyism. How does that work? How do people get so engrossed with their greed in this popularity contest that they think their ego with that minimized power that they get from the people is maximized in abuse over the people? That's the insane, ironic part of it, is that the people are the ones that allow it. Again, it's your accountability. Why would you allow another man to be your boss and then sit there and cry that they don't have authority? I don't get it.
Contemporaries never taught a clothesline technique, and I have never seen that technique in any type of a use of force curriculum.
So just a couple hours ago, Megan made his first appearance in federal court. The former police officer was injured in a crash while on duty back in 2023, and records show he retired on disability. In a statement tonight, the Lawrence Police Chief writes in part, quote, "The actions of any one individual do not represent the values, integrity, or professionalism of the Lawrence Police Department. We remain committed to transparency, accountability, and the trust of our community."
Yeah, what is the transparency, accountability, and trust of the community? See, I think they're losing a lot of trust, and I wish they would lose it a lot more, a lot quicker, because that's the issue. You keep bowing down and paying tribute to these public offices and departments and organizations and the corporate oligarchy through your taxes, and you think you're required to. You're not. There's a there's a separation that you can make, a detachment that you can make, that can prove your authority and capacity in its truthfulness, in its proper perspective. And it's even expressed in the 9th and 10th Amendments, folks. Public sector employment is a government work program for the mentally unstable. I agree. It's a large part of the problem with DEI. These people are the ones that voted in DEI because they want more people like them, more people that feel special because they can play in their cronyism and favoritism instead of being actually fucking qualified. I speak about my mom working for Social Security Administration for 29 fucking years. I guarantee you she never read the Social Security Act. If she had, I think she might have understood my position a little bit better and how none of these federal agents or state agents are supposed to take charge over the child over the objection of either parent. Yet that's exactly what they do. And they use CPS and all kinds of teachers and other medical associates to do so. And it's fucking blasphemy against the Bible. Isaiah 54 in whole. Sing, though thou didn't bear children, thou barren one. there are more desolate children than there are of the married wife. And then on the 17th verse, it says, no weapon formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that rises up against you in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the inheritance of servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord. And all these Christians out there believing in this foster care and adoption system and Social Security Administration and welfare program for single mothers, doing nothing but favoritism, because they themselves have single women in their family that think they've been abused and can't live their life based on a family unit. They have to suck tit off a false patriarch and get welfare from them, while the family sits by and gives them all kudos and says, well, I'm helping support them through my taxes. Why would I help support them by giving them a place to live? The government will do that. You fucking beta cuck motherfuckers are across the board. The actions of any one individual do not represent the values, integrity, or professionalism of the Lawrence Police Department. But across the board, if you look at each and every last fucking one of them, I guarantee you wouldn't trust any of them, because none of them are accountable, and then none of them are transparent, because they're all hiding behind somebody else saying it's not me. I'm just doing my job. All of them wearing a mask over that short mustache as Hitler's willing executioners. Fucking pathetic.
A robotic statement. It's complete boilerplate. This is pretty much the exact same statement the public gets every time there's police misconduct. This statement could pretty much just be reused and recycled for any incident because it's so general and unfeeling. What a
bingo.
And false report.
Now, Mangan left the courthouse a short time ago after the judge released him while waiting for his trial. Mangan is accused of committing an unprovoked attack on a man brought to the Lawrence Police Department following a noise complaint in 2023.
Jail. Guy posts a meme. They put a $2 million bond on him, hold him in jail for 35 days before they release him. This guy commits a heinous crime, trying to use every excuse in the book, and they release him. Which one's more dangerous? You see the loop? Cronyism? Putting criminals back out on the streets? Pulling victims back into the jails so they can commit more crimes against them?
Now, a lawsuit filed by that man who'd been arrested said that Mangan clotheslined him, drove his head into a metal door and onto the concrete floor. Mangan has since left the Lawrence Police Department and is no longer certified to be a police officer anywhere in Massachusetts.
Let's take a look at what the Essex County District Attorney.
Anywhere in Massachusetts. Well, what about the next state over? You see the loophole? They'll just go another state or two over. Or maybe they'll go from California to Florida. Nobody will notice. Florida to Arizona. California to Arizona. All kinds of bullshit. The decision not to prosecute was made after thoughtful review of two separate and independent investigations, including the opinions of two respected and highly credentialed experts who found the use of force was not unreasonable in the totality of the circumstances. Imagine that. What were the totality? Let me guess. Officer safety. I'm done. I'm dumbfounded, people. Redundant again, just like the last statement. Transparency, accountability. Yeah, okay, come on.
Paul Tucker said. He said, this office takes allegations of police misconduct involving unreasonable use of force and inaccurate reports extremely seriously. The decision not to prosecute was made after thoughtful review of two separate and independent investigations, including the opinions of two respected and highly credentialed experts who found the use of force was not unreasonable in the totality of the circumstances. These investigations underlie our determination that criminal charges may not be proved under Massachusetts law under the criminal standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. What do you...
Amazing shit. Amazing shit. And with that, we're going to take a quick break. I hope you guys enjoy. Let's pick one here.
accounted for. My name's been read, written in the ledger where the lamb was led. Did not the body, did not the blood pay every debt in the flood of love? So tell me now, what's left to owe? When mercy calls, I can't say no. Are we too old? No, than anything. Just grace erase what the law might bring. If love's the all, then love fulfills all that binds all their wills. Silver spent, the temples fall, but the heart still whispers through it all. Render to God what is divine, and what remains is only mine. So tell me now, what's mine to keep when every truth cuts dark and deep? Are we all no man anything? Does the blood absolve the suffering? If love's the law, then I am free. But is that law the law of me? If I am bought, I am not sold. If I am dust, I still am gold. The measure's met, the balance true. No debt remains, save love for you. Are we to owe no man anything? Did not the Christ pay everything? The law fulfilled, the veil torn through. Now the law of me is loving you.
What do you make of this statement? To me, it just sounds like he's using a bunch of buzzwords. Maybe there's more to the statement, but if the cop's actions were truly justified, don't you think the DA would prominently put in his statement that evidence? Like, if the guy said, "I'm gonna punch you, here it comes," that might be exculpatory, for example. But instead of giving context or evidence that would justify the police action, all I hear are buzzwords and excuses. This is just a
Absolutely. Buzzwords and excuses. When you understand the language they're using and how profoundly ignorant it is to make the statements that we're reading, the decision not to prosecute was made after thoughtful review of two separate and independent investigations, including the opinions of two respected and highly credentialed experts who found the use of force was not reasonable in the totality of the circumstances. I think in a court of law that the reasonable man, knowing the totality of the circumstances, that there was no police safety issue at hand, that there is no such police training tactic for such clothesline violence, and that under an officer's discretion as a public servant in public trust, and having a man in their custody has certain international humane rights that they have to oblige, and in doing such actions, he violated those international bounds. So let's understand the culpability of the criminal actions for what they are, and quit trying to slight them by saying these investigations underlie our determination that criminal charges may not be proved under Massachusetts law under the criminal standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And let's put that objectively in the hands of the people and see how many people are willing to continue to back the blue. And that's the entire point here, folks. Unless you have an objective view that says what that man you saw in the video do was wrong, it'll never be corrected. Unless you start pushing that objective view and start speaking out on that objective view, expressing that objective view, and instead hiding and backing the blue until it happens to you. That's the thing. That's that. It kind of correlates to crying wolf. You're going to keep supporting them until it happens to you. So instead of crying wolf, you're just going to go along to get along. Keep your mouth shut. You're going to cuck up and shut up.
Another super generalized statement that tells us nothing about the specifics of this case. Good thing the feds decided to step in. After some more digging, it looks like the cops stated in filed police reports that the attack was provoked when the man slightly turned and bladed his body and simultaneously threw his outstretched right arm to grab at my face with his fingers in a grabbing motion. Does this look like what happened to you? Or does it look like this guy is just talking and communicating with his hands? Also, look more closely at the video. When the man gets clotheslined,
yeah, when the man gets clotheslined, he's not even looking at him. He's looking at the other officer. He's got his hand open palmed and waving it with his fingers open and everything in expression, not aggression. Okay? So when they portray this kind of shit, that's their projection. They're projecting lies. They were saying they were provoked by an act of aggression. There is no aggression.
he isn't even looking at the cop who attacks him. He's looking and talking to the other officer. So how could his actions even be directed at the former police captain? Maybe the cop wants to claim defense of others or something like that, but his statement says the man was trying to grab his face. So he's saying there was at least a self-defense claim, which seems super questionable. Maybe the cop has claimed defense of others as well in addition to the self-defense claim, but a self-defense claim by itself, like I said, seems potentially bogus. Also, the cop here was placed on paid administrative leave in 2023. Great to see a taxpayer-funded vacation, as the phrase goes. If the charges don't get dropped, and if there's no plea deal, and this case goes to trial, I would like to hear the testimony of the other officer there and see if he thinks there was a threat from the man. And why did the second cop there not intervene and try to get the other cop off of the man immediately?
Bingo! If this guy's a good cop, and we see it in almost every video, and this is just one cop here, okay? A lot of these videos, we see multiple cops. And instead of doing something about it to prevent it, many times they get involved. And what did he do? Instead of stopping the officer, he got involved in keeping him down.
Let's see what other information gets revealed, or what defense this cop who's been charged.
So he is culpable, and it's being deflected from him as if though he's not culpable. Charges should be brought against both of them, not just this officer over here. See what I mean? What about any charges this man got for assaulting a police officer? Huh? DA sign off on it? How about the judicial officer? What about that culpability that's supporting this shit?
Will put forward. Apparently, this cop has repeatedly denied the allegations against him in court filings for the civil rights lawsuit here. So maybe he's going to continue in that same vein in the criminal context and say that he did nothing wrong and actually mount a defense.
I actually say that he did nothing wrong and mount a defense. It's indefensible at this point with this objective reality of this video. I think it's plain, folks.
Hands on the go.
I think it's plain. Oops. It is systemic. It is criminal. And not a lot's going to happen until more and more people start standing up and putting a stop to it in the beginning. The only way you can do that is with knowledge. Don't believe me. Don't believe the neighbor. Don't believe the government. For crying out loud, don't believe your mother. Do your research so you know. Let's get into the next one. Cop finally sentenced for beating man in his home and covering it up. Witness tampering exposed. So again, just one more proponent to the illegal drugs and bribes, sex rings. They're insane power trips. Insane power trips. Cop finally sentenced for beating man in his home and covering it up. Witness tampering. To maintain that blue line and the good that they do. I've not watched this one, but this was from Fox Local. What's it say here? It says lawyer explains stuff. I think I did one earlier.
Arrest him, and he's sweaty. He has no shirt on, and we got him pinned.
So that link should be down there in the chat somewhere. And so again, we're going to look at another one where obviously these people are out of control. Out of control.
Against the couch right there, he kept fighting. Couldn't against. I gave him a couple knee spikes to the face, good ones. Split his face. He got blood everywhere immediately. Spike in the face.
Then that officer said he tased Sean Kastner, and they arrested him. You can see blood all over his face.
And they're going to go over several details of law here, and it's going to be relative to curtilage, fleeing, where they're at when the actions happen, inside, outside, what they're doing at the time. So pay attention. And again, understand federal rules of civil procedure. These people are civil officers. Okay. And yet they sit there and say, well, that's a civil matter. What is domestic violence? That's a civil matter. Right? Isn't that what they say? How is domestic violence a civil matter? See, they get their jurisdictions all crossed up and people believe it. The only reasons domestic violence would be a civil matter is because of that marriage license and it's pertinent to the record, not to yourself. If you operate and conduct yourself in this Christian society under those 10 commandments, that domestic abuse is under those laws, and that's common law under an Article 3 court of people of your a jury of your peers under Christianity, not statutory personage.
Hey, you want to tell me what happened?
You guys came in and beat my ass.
I don't have any justification. I was trained better than that, and I knew better than that.
Prosecutors say P.I.G.S.C.U.N.T.S entered the home without a warrant and used force against policy.
So it looks like police were called to this house for some sort of disturbance. Here's a little bit of what happened leading up to all of this.
Hey, don't touch it, man.
Okay, come on, shut the door.
Don't touch it.
I didn't touch it.
Yeah, you shoved it.
I did not shove him. I'm helping you.
Come on here, this other. Don't touch it. No.
Get out and shut the door. No, I'm not coming out.
Generally,
right there. See how the officer went into the house? You can't do that. That's violation of curtilage. That man lives there. You don't have a warrant, and there's no exigent circumstances to have an exception to warrant.
to enter a home, police need consent, a warrant, or a warrant exception. Here, there doesn't seem to be consent or a warrant. A warrant exception requires exigency and probable cause. There needs to be an emergency, like destruction of evidence, someone's well-being is in immediate danger, or police are in hot pursuit of certain kinds of fleeing suspects. There is a chance there was a warrant exception or two here. One potential one is someone's well-being is in immediate danger, but then again, perhaps not. The cops originally got called to the home for some sort of disturbance. The cop says the man shoved someone, but he claims he was helping him. Not quite sure what was going on here. Looks like maybe the man in the home was trying to get the other guy to leave so he could shut the door, and if the other man had no legal right to be there and was trespassing, then the guy in the home might have been entitled to use reasonable force to expel him if he told him to leave and he didn't. But even if it was an illegal shove of some kind, if it was an isolated shove and there was no further immediate danger to someone's well-being, then I would argue there's likely no warrant exception. I need more.
And I would agree. Again, it goes to escalation and necessary force. So like the man said, if the one guy is not supposed to be there, he doesn't live there, and the owner occupant wants him gone, he has that right to remove him with certain force.
Information, but I lean towards there not being a warrant exception here. Now, one other potential warrant exception I could think of is something like a hot pursuit exception. This is where police are actively pursuing a fleeing suspect and the suspect goes into a home. On one end of the spectrum, you have something like police pursuing someone for a non-jailable traffic offense and they follow them into a home. That's not really going to count for a warrant exception. But on the other end of the spectrum, you have police pursuing someone they suspect of a felony and they're actively pursuing them into a house. That would count for the warrant exception. I'm not sure exactly what the underlying crime here would be, if it's something like shoving that guy like assault and battery, if there's some other factor here, but regardless of that, there's still the question of were they actually following him into the house or was he already in the house to begin with? Because it's one thing if before this he was like on the sidewalk or the street and they said, hey, stop, you're detained, you're under arrest, and then he fled into the house and they followed him. And it's different if he was in the home the whole time, because you can't really follow someone into the house under the hot pursuit doctrine if they're already in the house to begin with the whole time. Also keep it.
And the way I understand it is this guy is the one that called him because he wanted this guy out. These guys have a problem with this guy, and rather than helping him, they're going to fuck him up.
In mind that the curtilage of the home.
And that's just my take on it. Mere insane opinionization. That's it. Nothing more.
Which is essentially the area immediately surrounding the home, is generally treated the same as the inside of the home for Fourth Amendment purposes. So if this guy was in the curtilage or inside the home the whole time, I would argue the hot pursuit doctrine probably wouldn't even apply. There's a lot more nuance to all of this, but I just wanted to mention it generally for mostly educational purposes, and also to keep in mind that I don't have the entire context of this situation. But regardless of if the cops' entry into the home was illegal or not, there are still excessive force issues here, which I will comment on in a bit.
Then that officer said he tased Sean Kastner, and they arrested him. You can see blood all over his face.
Hey, you want to tell me what happened?
You guys came in and beat my ass.
And something was lodged in his back.
This body camera video, first exposed by 9 Investigates, shows P.I.G.S.C.U.N.T.S back in 2023, kneeing a suspect in the face and tasing him multiple times.
And I spoke with the state attorney today, and he said he wants the community to know that most officers, the majority of officers, when they put on a badge every day, they want to do the right thing. And if there is a bad actor, that person will be held responsible.
No, I don't think so. Very unlikely. Very rarely do we see these people being held accountable. Now, we're going to be going over some situations here, and maybe it is getting better. Maybe they are being held more accountable. Maybe there are more cases. Like the first one, we saw 20 of them across the board. But that's not near enough. That's still such a minor number, and it still doesn't resolve the situation because we're still not filling those positions with good men that won't allow it to happen. The real resolution needs to happen. Good men need to step up and fill those positions. Good men need to step up and start opening their mouths. Good men need to start speaking up and expressing that objective truth and putting their foot down and saying, no more, I won't do it.
I was going to insert the "are you sure about that" meme here, but that felt a little inappropriate given the severity of the situation. Criminal charges are much more rare than they should be for police officers when they commit misconduct. At least there were charges.
Absolutely. Much more rare than there should be. Again, it's systemic and it's not corruption. It's criminal.
In this case, but I don't know if they were severe enough, and it took quite a long time to get to this point.
P.I.G.S.C.U.N.T.S was initially suspended for just 1 day of work until 9 Investigates uncovered the video and prosecutors got involved.
When analyzing if use of force is excessive, courts will look to factors like the severity of the underlying crime, the threat posed by the suspect to officers and others, and any attempts by the suspect to resist or evade arrest. Looks like there are multiple cops here, so there's a big power imbalance as well. And any self-defense claims by the cop would generally have to be reasonable.
Just like the one we just saw in the jail, there's a power imbalance. There always is. Almost always is a power imbalance. That's one of their tactics. They use a power balance, a power game, a power play, whatever you want to call it, for threats and intimidation.
As well. And I don't have the entire video, but it doesn't look like there's any self-defense here. So, when analyzing this entire situation, it seems like there was excessive force used here. And remember, the cop got convicted of this. He pled guilty. That doesn't always mean someone is guilty, but in this case, it looks like it does. And if there was no warrant exception, and the cop had no legal right to be in the home, then I would argue no amount of force would have been reasonable or legal. So keep that in mind.
And see, that's one of the things I touched on earlier, too, is that, you know, we have a general public of sheeple. Excuse me. A general public of sheeple that will watch their neighbor being arrested and automatically think that their neighbor did something wrong. They will back the blue, believing that the blue is arresting that man for good reason, when most likely, with the process and the manners that we use in this legal system would most certainly prove otherwise. And of course, that's only from my firsthand experience, so it's certainly not objectively viewed yet. But I'm sure, once it affects enough people that are back in the blue until it happens to you, you might start investigating. But that's what I'm urging you to do now. What you think these police are doing is not viable. It's all a corporate debtor system, putting people in jail, claiming crimes in a civil system.
Attorney Andrew Bain's
when in fact they're the ones committing most of the crimes.
office says Officer Andrew P.I.G.S.C.U.N.T.S admitted to investigators that, quote, he solicited a fellow officer to commit perjury.
What do you say before?
We'll talk about it after.
Officer P.I.G.S.C.U.N.T.S is one of the 11 officers accused of
on body cam. See, how are you going to get an open public records request if they're hiding records and doing things secretly behind the scene, conspiring, colluding, and all that to violate rights? How are you going to get those? How does that work in transparency? Huh? It doesn't.
wrongdoing. He allegedly went in the home without a warrant while using, quote, force that was not consistent with Kissimmee Police Department's use of force policy to take a man into custody, resulting in serious bodily injury to the man. The state attorney's office found Chief Betty Holland gave a voluntary sworn interview that was inconsistent with other sworn testimony.
Kissimmee police officer Andrew P.I.G.S.C.U.N.T.S looked solemnly at his weeping wife as he was handcuffed and taken to the Osceola County Jail for a 9-month sentence.
I don't have any justification.
9-month sentence for it.
I was trained better than that, and I knew better than that.
You can't train certain things. There needs to be better psychological screening to weed out people with a mindset like this.
During the investigation that followed, a grand jury said KPD had systemic issues and a culture of silence. It led the former chief to resign, and several other officers were eventually fired.
This was a cover-up, and if it wasn't for the extensive efforts of the state attorney's office that was met extensive efforts of the state attorney's office. This was a cover-up, and if it wasn't for the extensive efforts of the state attorney's office that was met with uncooperative witness after uncooperative witness. This was a cover-up, and if it wasn't for the extensive efforts of the state attorney's office that was met with uncooperative witness after uncooperative witness, this defendant's conduct would not have been exposed.
P.I.G.S.C.U.N.T.S was charged and later pled guilty for battery, witness tampering, and official misconduct. He asked a judge for leniency on Monday.
I just asked you to take into consideration I had never been in trouble before. Never had any.
I just asked you to take into consideration that I've never been in trouble before, despite the fact that I've constructed an entire career on it, and everything I do is wrong. I don't ask you to. I ask you to overlook all of that. I ask you to overlook all the criminal actions that I've been involved, and only look at this one and say that, well, all your other actions were good. No, that's not going to work. It's systemic. You cannot be a good cop watching all this shit happen and then sit there and say, well, I've never done it before. That's no longer going to fly. You keep making a paycheck, going home to your women and children, your husband and children, with a paycheck, strictly violating other people's rights. Making criminals out of people, putting them in debt, tearing apart their families through branches and arms. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, but they're all working together for the same effect, to destroy the family unit. CPS, public education, medical facilities. And of course, folks, this is just my opinion. You don't believe me? That's fine. I don't ask you to believe me. Matter of fact, I tell you not to. But if you're going to keep back in the blue until it happens to you, I guarantee you, you're going to find out the hard way.
Disciplinary issues in my 18 years at KPD.
Or maybe you just haven't gotten caught and called out until now. Maybe you were squeaky clean before this, but I seriously doubt this kind of behavior just came out of nowhere and never happened before. I understand people make mistakes, and maybe I shouldn't use the word mistake to describe this, but I have a lot less sympathy for agents of the government who restrict our liberty under the color of law when they make mistakes. Especially.
Yeah, I don't like using mistakes either, because like I said, if you're doing it repeatedly and you have no training and you're using your feelers to base your investigations on, I think you're far out of the reach of doing anything under the law, particularly if you have no training in the law and therefore profess that you're enforcing the law. And when we actually look at your track records of everybody signing off for everybody else and your cronyism and nepotism and favoritism and DEI and all this, your insane delusion of groupthink safe spaces, and the more it's getting exposed, the more insane it really is. And the more people will see it for that insanity.
Because there seems to be some sort of cover-up around this. So he doubled down on his misconduct.
And the victim's parents were present in the courtroom, but they didn't speak publicly. Instead, they provided written statements. As for P.I.G.S.C.U.N.T.S, after serving 9 months in jail, he's then going to be on community probation for 18 months and will have to take some anger management classes as well.
Channel 9 first broke this story in 2023, leading to the investigation by the state attorney's office. The incident with P.I.G.S.C.U.N.T.S happened in April of 2023 and led to an investigation into the department. Then in October of 2024, Chief Betty Holland resigned, followed by Deputy Chief Camille Alicia. On April 1st of this
So we see they got replaced because a couple of them resigned, but who replaced them? Are they going to change what happens within that unit? Okay. Like I said, these people run and hide. You catch them up in their collusion and conspiracy and cronyism, nepotism, favoritism, all that I mentioned. Yeah, you're going to see them start running. It doesn't hold up. The truth exposes them and they start running. I urge people to start doing this more and more. Stand on it.
year, the new chief, Charles Broadway, was sworn in, and that's when our Shannon Butler spoke to him about the scandal that he inherited.
Do you think there was justice here? There's obviously a lot of factors that go into sentencing and mitigating circumstances that the judge has to look at, and the fact that it looks like this was the first criminal offense that this cop had. Let me know what you think. Also, if this cop...
Yeah, it's like I mentioned, it's just the first criminal offense this cop had because it's the one they caught him with. But I guarantee you it wasn't the first one he's committed that they're covering up. I guarantee you, look through these people's records, you will find them doing it over and over and over and over again. The next one we got from Lawyer Explains Stuff Again. And this one, sadistic cop finally convicted. Beats man and terrorizes family over nothing. This is from Waukegan. Officer found guilty of official misconduct. See, and that's bullshit. Beats man and terrorizes family. They use that term, terrorizes. How come it stayed out of the court? Wouldn't that be domestic terrorism by a member of an organization that seems to have a pattern of practice? President Trump, your designation of domestic terrorist organization should include every police department in the nation, every sheriff's department in the nation, every state police agency in the nation, under a pattern of practice that can be proven through their records. Good men not willing to stand up and do the right thing.
After getting out of his squad car, Officer Dante Salinas points his gun in the direction of Angel Salgado. Prosecutors told the judge Salgado was doing nothing illegal. The officer had not been called to the scene of a crime.
Had not been called to the scene of the crime. There's no crime. So he gets out and he automatically pulls his weapon. How power hungry is this man?
Rather, it was a family baptism party in his backyard.
Get back on the taser. By Waukegan police officer Dante Salinas.
He tackles me. He starts punching.
Let me refresh, folks. Oh, there we go.
Me in the face. He actually lifted his gun and fanned it out and pointed it at a 13, 14-year-old kids and his wife who were just coming out of the house saying, "What's going on?" And his answer to that in the deposition was, "I felt threatened."
Apparently, the cop was just out on patrol when the victim here, I guess, might have been intoxicated. And called out to him, and then a verbal argument started, and it all went absolutely out of control from there. The cop could have just stayed in his car or moved on. The judge in this case said the cop even getting out of the car was unnecessary, and said it was quickly evident the man was not armed. The cop told
The officer getting out of the car was not necessary. It was not necessary. So it was voluntary. So he did it on his own. He had no authority to do it.
The victim that he was under arrest for aggravated assault of a police officer. I'm currently editing this video right now, and I noticed I made a mistake. It was aggravated assault of a peace officer. My mistake. This guy's obviously very peaceful. So much peace. But the judge said the man had not committed any crime, and it was an unlawful attempted arrest. Normally, I would talk about the factors courts would look to when determining if use of force is justified. But that's not necessary here, because no amount of force would have been reasonable or legal because the victim wasn't doing anything illegal.
Correct. Use of any force wasn't necessary. It was not necessary for the officer to force himself out of the car and then try to force his authority on a man that he had absolutely nothing to do with. Outrageous.
There was no reasonable articulable suspicion for even detainment and no justification for any use of force. And yes, when the cop terrorized children in this case, it's because he felt threatened. There it is, the officer safety platitude yet again. Reminds me of
He waved his gun after he tackled this man, and the women and children came out asking what's going on. He waved his gun at him, told him, get away, stay back. Quite the responsible officer, huh, moms and dads? You want your children out there with these kind of people? You keep putting them in position to do so.
So many cops I've covered on this channel. One in particular comes to mind.
I'm terrified from you. You terrified me. You scared me. You scared me.
And this is what they play. These are the games we play. I did a review on one of my insanity streams here not too long ago and had that video up. And that officer is just mocking people. That's all they're doing is mocking people, making them victims, criminalizing them, putting them in the system for false drug charges, false abuse charges against their children, CPS getting involved, all kinds of shit. You know, I urge you people, your parents, to start looking out. It's systemic crimes.
Anyways, let's get back to this case.
Taser, taser, taser! More officers arrive. He's tased at least 3 times and pinned by his neck. They point to the shadow of a lifted arm where S.W.A.P says he was hit by the butt of a taser or gun, which fractured his nose and eye socket.
Salinas left court today without comment. He's since been fired from the Waukegan Police Department.
Keep in mind, he wasn't fired until over a year after this happened.
In a bench trial.
A year after it happened. It wasn't until this man was found clear of charges and everything. Then they fired him. And when they fired him, I can only wonder where he went next. If that's all they did was fire him, where are the criminal charges?
Trial Judge George Strickland found Salinas guilty of.
No, you can't file criminal charges. You got to file a civil suit. The fuck you do.
Battery and misconduct while acquitting him of 2 counts involving aggravated battery. The judge said, I can't remember a time I saw an officer resort to striking a suspect this quickly. This should not have occurred.
Well, the judge must not have seen a lot of police misconduct cases because I sure can remember other times where cops resorted to violence this quickly. Also, notice how it's a bench trial.
Yeah, we just watched one not too long ago where they just walked up to a homeless guy having issues and just straight up kicked him in his face. It's not a one-off, people. This is happening day in and day out across the nation, around the world. And you people sit by and watch it happen, thinking that when they pull someone over that they must have done something wrong. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten pulled over. Thinking when you see them down the block arresting one of your neighbors a block down the street, that your neighbor must have done something wrong, because the police don't do those kind of things. They don't just arrest people willy-nilly. They don't get in their feelers. They're accountable, right? Come on.
My guess is the defense probably did this because they wanted to waive the right to a jury trial because a judge might be more, I don't know, objective and sympathetic and less emotional than a jury, or some theory like that, because they knew how a jury would react to this body cam footage. Also, the civil lawsuit from this incident resulted in a $300,000 settlement. That may sound like a lot of money to you, but it's really not. Think of the medical expenses, the permanent mental damage, and the fact that this was so blatantly egregious and illegal and insane.
I have all these officers on top of me. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen after this. Like, they're going to shoot me.
He was locked up for a day, charged with resisting an assault. His attorney says those charges were dropped once this video was reviewed.
About a year after this incident, in 2020, Officer Salinas was accused of second-degree murder in the shooting death of Marcellus Stinnett. He was a...
You guys hear that? He's charged with second-degree murder. Charged. Not accused, charged. The man's waiting on trial now. Pay attention.
Passenger in a car Officer Salinas had stopped. The driver, his girlfriend, was also injured. That case has not yet gone to trial. But attorney Kevin O'Connor says the video from this case should have been a warning.
After this case happened back in 2019, I went in front of the city council and said, I've watched
2019.
This video. Please watch this video of this officer. He's out of control. He could kill somebody.
The judge set sentencing in this case for next month. Salinas could face jail time or possibly probation. The second-degree murder case is expected to go to court sometime early next year.
There is currently horrible
second-degree murder charge ready to go to trial sometime early next year. You would think that a man charged with murder wouldn't have a badge.
psychological screening for police. This guy should.
Hell, if I had a pizza delivery job and was charged with murder, I wouldn't have a pizza delivery job. This man remains a police officer while he's on murder charges. How does this shit work, folks? What is it you don't see? Is there not enough evidence yet?
Not have been a cop to begin with. He doesn't have thick skin, good judgment, or humanity. Not only was he allowed to be a cop, but he then engages in this insane misconduct and is allowed to stay on the job for over a year more, after there were warnings. That was just enough time for him to cause someone's death. What a tragic, disgusting joke. I don't know all the details of the shooting case, so who knows for sure exactly what happened and if it was justified or not, but we won't know all the details for sure because apparently the cop did not properly activate his body cam to record the shooting incident. I've said that.
Oh, imagine that. See all the tricks they pull? And you people want to keep believing that these men are good men, stopping crimes. So let's get on to Mr. Steins. Mr. Steins, and this one's from News Nation. And Mr. Steins is the sheriff down in, or was the sheriff down in Lecter, Kentucky, who shot and killed Judge Kevin Mullins on video in the court chambers, in the judge's chambers. And come to find out, the judge had his daughter's phone number in his phone. There's no reason for it. The judge had been involved in a previous case where the sheriff fired one of his deputies for sexual charges against one of the inmates, and information's come out throughout all of this that the judge was implicated, other people were implicated, many people knew about it both within the system and out in the streets, and yet here we are today, and it's still an issue, and people are wondering what really happened. The information's already out there, and you want to sit there and try to pinpoint it to one or another. It's systemic. Everybody's culpable. The good people allowing this to happen are the ones putting these people in position to do so. You have good faith and you trust them, and you shouldn't. You're giving up your responsibility to raise your children and act as a family by paying false tribute to a false patriarch, saying that you think they will be able to protect you when they're the ones abusing you, and you know it. You cry about it all the time and wonder what the solution is. Get away from that false daddy geek. Quit depending on that false daddy. Learn how to behave as a normal man in your natural capacity, as a real mom and dad who take care of their own children and don't need somebody to help them, unless it is family.
Shocking today than it was almost a year ago. The face-to-face killing of a sitting judge. Literally, he was sitting down smoking a cigarette. The killing was by his longtime friend, the sheriff of Letcher County, Kentucky, the now former sheriff, Mickey Steins, who is awaiting trial on one count of murder of a public official. And since the shooting was caught on surveillance video, there's really no doubt who pulled the trigger multiple times. But the why is still a mystery. Steins facing a federal lawsuit over a possible sex trafficking scheme.
Oh, yeah. And see, like I said, this judge, he was indicated in a previous charge against one of the, this is Sheriff Steins, and he fired one of his deputies for sexual charges with one of the inmates or something, and implicated in that was Kevin Mullins, the judge. Well, he denied charges. Everything got deflected to the guy that was actually charged, and nobody else brought anything up until this guy turned around and shot him, and now it's all coming to the surface. Yet in that story, we're hearing that all kinds of people knew about all these involvements, and nobody actually did anything about it, because in everybody's mind it was career suicide. In the people in the community, people that were being enslaved in it, women that were being taken into this sex ring, having their children taken away by CPS because of judges' orders and sheriff's involvement and all this. And it's just sick. It's sick. And now it's all coming out and people are amazed. I'm amazed nobody else sees it and does anything about it. And here we have evidence of all kinds of people in and out of those circles that know about it in the community, within the power structure, and those that are being taken advantage of. A lot of people are speaking out and saying something about it, but they're in hush circles, and everybody keeps it that way. Groupthink, safe spaces. And anybody that says otherwise, they're lying. So no truth ever gets really exposed. And then when it does, that same question sits there. How are they going to hold them accountable? Who are they going to hold accountable? They can no longer hold Kevin Mullins accountable. He's dead, for crying out loud. This guy shot him. Amazing shit.
Involving jailed women, shot the sheriff shortly after giving a deposition in that case. And remember, we were in Kentucky a few weeks ago. We were investigating, talking to women who said they were forced to have sex with the judge to stay out of jail. The big question, is this all connected? Tonight, newly released video taken just moments after Steins left Judge Kevin Mullins dead on his floor of his own chambers. It's from the body cam of a state trooper who says he's known Mickey Steins his whole life. This video shows that Steins seemed to believe that his life and his family's lives were in danger. Look at this.
We'll make sure you're okay.
Of course, he committed career suicide by killing another man. He's been in the system for years. He was one of those good guys, supposedly, that held one of his officers accountable. But again, the pattern of practice and the things that he knew, he should have been holding him accountable a long time ago. But because he wasn't, and he was forced to hold that one officer accountable, now things came back to bite him. Now people are against him. Because like I said, in holding that one officer accountable, accusations came out against the judge and many other people. And it was only because he held that man accountable instead of playing the system's power game against the victim. He stood up for the victim. Now the system worked against him, and he's been doing it for years. It came to a head. He broke. Now that's what he's using for defense. Temporary insanity plea. His daughter's number was in the judge's phone, for crying out loud, and no explanation as to why. She even admitted herself there was no contact with the judge. Why would he have her number then?
Safety, and to make sure that you're safe right now. Yeah. You got up my face there a while ago. I don't feel safe. Man, I've worked with you all for years, man. I know. For years, I don't feel safe. Listen to me. When you were pulling away from there, I didn't pay it down, and I don't feel safe. I sure don't feel safe. Everybody should have their body cam on by policy, right?
Well, not in these situations.
Many killers during his 27 years as an FBI special agent. Bobby Chacon. Bobby, thank you for being here tonight. Very strange case. I was in Kentucky a couple weeks ago digging in. Now we've got the body camera video. What do you make of it? I mean, the sheriff seems to be, like there's something really wrong.
Yeah, it's really tough, Brian, to tell whether or not he's genuinely disoriented and confused, or he's trying to play those at the scene into some kind of sympathy. He's still acting like he's in charge. He's still acting like he's making decisions. So it's really, it's a bizarre, very unique situation for the officers involved. Some of these probably work.
Pattern of practice to be the boss. He's still trying to be the boss. It's hard to put that up. That's explainable. He knows how the game is played. He knows the hidden spaces in that stairwell, no camera. He knows what happens in that hidden stairwell. I think he has a right to be afraid. A lot of accusations are going to come out about a lot of these people involved in this police force and what they know. That would put a lot of them in fear for their own career. They've already committed career suicide if they get caught from the other angle, not from being whistleblowers, but from being the actual criminals, the actual beasts in the system.
With him or for him, he was, the sheriff, so he was a top dog in law enforcement in this county. So, I mean, I imagine that this was a very, very unusual circumstance for them to be questioning this guy who they usually took orders from.
Is that a
Absolutely. An exact reason why he should be afraid. They should have brought in outside people for this. Instead, they're trying to handle it internally. So I can't wait for the FBI and Department of Justice to step in.
appropriate? I mean, should the people he knew and he's worked with forever have been questioning him? I mean, maybe it was just impossible to get around since it's kind of a small town and he pretty much knows everybody.
Well, I mean, it was the Kentucky State Police who were doing the kind of questioning, and the one trooper, the state police officer, said, I've not known you that much. I've known you, but they probably work with him in a very, a position of authority, even if he wasn't over them. But no, it's not ideal. I would never want to interrogate somebody that I knew and worked with personally. You've got to kind of get sometimes in their face, and you've got to kind of, you got to play it tough, and it's tough to do that with someone that you have a friendship with and their family.
Yeah, and what stood out to
Absolutely. Perfect reason there, as well as, again, the favoritism and the connections. Notice this is several police departments, several people within several communities within the county of Lecter. And that's just one county. So even if you do take it to another county, if it's systemic, as I absolutely believe, then it's also likely that the people in the next county over might be induced to also find the same result against this officer. And the main problem of accountability, transparency of others involved in signing off on such situations and allowing this evil shit to continue will do nothing but allow that evil shit to continue again. I think it's going to result in just the one man being held accountable for his specific actions. And despite the relevancy to the actions behind the scene that drove him to that, no one else will be held accountable for that. Again, that's why I hope the FBI and Department of Justice steps in and does something, because it needs to be done across the board in every department, every county, every state. It is that systemic. And it's not just the police departments. It's not just the sheriff's department. Again, like I said, public education departments, medical facilities, all these public servants have to have a better understanding of what the law really is and stop this insanity of false intimations of who and what things are, simply because they get a paycheck for saying it's not my job. I'm just doing my job. You'll have to talk to somebody else. That's how shit keeps getting shoved under the rug.
me when I watched the whole, I mean, the video goes on about an hour. He says so more times than I could count that you're going to kill me. And he seems fearful. And when you look at the whole big picture of this, that he was supposed to give this deposition where he was likely going to have to say bad things about the judge. And there's this whole alleged sex ring going on. And then you've got him saying he feels like someone wants to kill him. And he's even scared when he's being led downstairs to the police car. I want to play you this clip, Bobby, and then we'll talk about it.
Come on, you're up. Yeah. Y'all don't kill me now. If you ain't gonna do it, you ain't gonna do nothing to you. Take everybody in the dark. Yeah. That's it. Go this way. That way. Come on. No, don't. Not that way. Not that way. Come on. No, you can't talk to him. You can't talk to him. Come on, you know better. Come on now. Don't put me down the jail. We're not.
See, they're taking him down a stairway here that doesn't have any cameras. This is why he's worried. Clothesline him in a trained police tactic for somebody that's violent and slam his head against a concrete wall or metal door, or heaven forbid one of them frames that have a sharp edge split his skull wide open. Of course there's a reality of those kind of fears. That's what these kind of people been doing. Now he's come to be held accountable. He knows the reality of what these officers can and will do. He's been privy to it himself and never done anything about it.
Is that the jail or is this? This is right here. Come on, get inside. There you go, that's really off right here. I have it. The door. Hold on, give a second. There shouldn't have been nobody in there. Come on, everybody's on lockdown. Come on now. So, yes, sir, all right. Come on now. You're all right. What you guys do to me now? This ain't right. KSP, open the door. This ain't right, guys. Come on. This get me to a facility. That's what we're trying to do.
He's clearly very nervous, Bob, when he says, get me to a facility, and he's kind of like looking up and down the hallways, paranoid. What do you think is going on there?
You know, it's hard to tell whether that's a genuine paranoia, genuine concern, or he's still trying to play the victim here. Like, he's like, you know, I watched this whole video too. Like you said, it goes on for a while, and I started getting frustrated with them. I would have simply reminded him that.
See, there's no camera the entire way that they're taking him. That's one of those things he knows, and that's where they do their creepy things.
No one's doing any killing here, Mickey, except you. You're a cold-blooded murderer. You know, this is one of those rare situations where there is no dispute of what happened. The only killing that was done here today is you killed somebody. You know, and so I would have kind of gotten a little tougher with him and reminded him that he's a perpetrator now. He's no longer the sheriff. You know, he's got to listen.
Yeah, I would have gotten a little bit tougher with him. Oh, really? You're going to exert force where there is no need of force. See, this is a guy that doesn't take the mentality into consideration. You know, these kind of people that are acting this way, they most certainly have a right to a legal defense of mental capacity at all stages. Don't ever forget that, people. And it's not because they're insane, but because they might be able to prove their sanity. That's what people are afraid of. He has a perfectly logical reason to be afraid. He knows what these stairways and hallways are for. He knows what's happened before. He knows what they will and can and will do. He's been privy to it.
To what they're telling him, and I would have.
How much evidence do you people need?
Probably, you know, I'm not saying I would have manhandled him, but I would have handled him a little differently. I would have opened the back of the car to make him look in there and say, stop worrying about other people killing. The only killer here is you today. And I would have kind of gotten in his face and reminded him of that.
It's so unusual, obviously. I don't know that it's ever happened for an acting sheriff to kill the acting judge in the courthouse, and then for there to be this whole backstory with the federal lawsuit and the alleged sex trafficking. What surprises me is that we cannot find that there is an active state investigation into the whole bigger picture here of possible corruption and what's happening in this county. What do you make of that? Does that surprise you?
It surprised me that there was no state level. Maybe, you know, hopefully there was either a federal investigation or somebody's looking at this, because you're right. I mean, there is a lot more to this than meets the eye. There is a lot going on here. And he himself, as the sheriff, must have felt that he had some culpability, that he had some guilt. He had some.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. He has some kind of culpability, some guilt. And the guilt has overridden him. And he says, I can't do this anymore. And he shot and killed the judge for whatever reason. Whether it be because the judge had his own daughter's phone number in his phone, and you know that does kind of look suspicious, particularly when the daughter has stated and clarified there has been no contact with the judge. She doesn't know any reason to have contact with him, and yet he's got her phone number in his phone. Why is that, and how did it happen? And now the judge is gone and can't stand up to that one particular element of culpability. It's strange how this kind of shit works out. So yes, again, I hope the Department of Justice gets involved with the FBI and every branch that they can to root this shit out in every department across the board, everywhere.
Liability to take this kind of step. He knew where this was going to go. He was going to go to jail for the.
But again, ultimately, as I've expressed before, it comes down to you people. You're the people. You're the ones that give these people the power to do those things. So if you expect them to do it, then you have to be able to help them. You have to be able to be the one with the mega speaker shouting out to them, hey,
the rest of his life. And to take that kind of step, he had to have felt like he had some portion of guilt, or he had some portion of liability if this judge wasn't killed, to keep him quiet or something. So you know, there's a lot more to it. This wasn't a guy seeking justice and killing the judge because the judge did something wrong. This was a guy killing the judge, hoping that his own culpability, his own liability in this scheme or whatever was happening, would be lessened if the judge was out of the picture.
And the paranoia.
Yep. Like I mentioned, he's culpable, he's guilty, and now he's going to try to deflect some of that guilt by telling the people he just couldn't handle it anymore. He knew what was going on. Like so many people have already said in these stories that they knew what was going on. And we're going to see some more. We're going to show you that. We're going to show you that I'm not lying, that you don't have to take my word for it. We're going to show you videos where people are stepping out and saying this happened, this happened, this happened.
Goes on throughout the whole video. There's this point where he's nervous to talk to them alone in a room. I want to play you this other part of the body camera video. Look at this.
When they talk to you, but we can have multiple people move, and he's got his body camera. If you want to talk to him, not more than 2 people can talk to him. Okay, that's a Supreme Court ruling. It's coercion, it's duress. We do that. Okay, but we'll have multiple
If I give
people.
permission more than 2 to talk to me. I mean, if more than 2.
If you want to talk, it would violate the rules of the interview procedure. Is what it would do. But we'll have
if I sign a waiver and there's 10 there.
No, but we'll have a multiple body cams. We'll have a body cam.
His body cam, it ain't even on right now.
Yeah, it is. But that red light is. So he hasn't put his in stealth mode. He done that on purpose. You can see it's recording. Stealth mode doesn't light up a red light.
What stands out to you here?
He's still trying to dictate the terms. He's still trying to be in charge. He's still trying to dictate how many people in the room for an interview. And he's still playing this cat and mouse game with them. And really, they're allowing it to happen. And I get it right now. This isn't a formal interrogation out in the hallway like this. But boy, I mean, he is still trying to manipulate the situation and still trying to say, the body camera's on when it was. I mean, he's still trying to kind of have his way with the situation where, you know, I personally, if it was me, I would not have allowed him a lot of that.
And this is where I have a serious question in this regards, because if I was an officer of such capacity and knowing the things you would obviously know, which I'm going to plainly point out, what about that attorney? Wouldn't you be able to get an attorney to be in that interview room to help subside that fear itself? Why is he, why is he not going there? That would be the first go-to to assure one's safety is the attorney aspect. Though I don't suggest attorneys in any certain capacity other than to do research and, of course, answer questions and guide you in questioning, but not to actually represent you. And that's part of the problem. But anyway, that would be an automatic go-to for an officer of the law, though. I'm going to shut up until I have my attorney. You can interrogate me in front of my attorney. So that's the one thing that just, I don't see why other people haven't hit that. That would be my response. This guy, he's going on about, well, he's acting out of, yeah, that's obvious. Because the obvious part, like I said, is why didn't he just get an attorney?
Yeah, I'm sure it's awkward for them having known this guy. One of the officers was saying he's known him for like 20 or 30 years, and he just shot the judge and killed the judge, who they all also know. So certainly a situation they never expected to be in. But, with some cases, Bobby, you just know there's more to it, and I think that's the case here. I mean, there's something going on in this town, so we're going to keep digging into it. Bobby Chacon, thank you for coming on tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our news.
So, yeah, we'll take a look at the next one on the same case and see what we got here. This is Fox 56 News. And they're going to talk about the allegations, and I believe they're going to mention his insanity plea as a crutch on the case. So let's check them out. And remember, folks, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And before we get into this video, enjoy the quick break. I'm going to grab a bite or a drink, and we'll be right back.
The code consumes. Neon on veins in the midnight sky. Pulses hum where the souls go dry. Faith replaced by a logging screen. Dreams decoded in the machine. Every whisper's now an algorithm sign. And every prayer's just data classified. The more we touch, the less we feel. Our hearts reprogrammed to kneel. Welcome to the kingdom of code. Now the masters are made of the nodes. You'll stare too long and it stares back through. The abyss runs its fingers right into you. Oh, it swallows your name, your thoughts, your skin. You log out of life and log back in. Scroll for truth, but you'll find the lie. Written clean in the syntax of why. A binary gospel, a virtual creed. Our prophets now bleed electricity. Every bite a bite of the serpent seed. And freedom's just bandwidth guaranteed. We built the cage, called it home. Now we pray to the monochrome. Welcome to the kingdom of code, where the masters are made of the nodes. You'll stare too long and it stares back through. The abyss looks its finger right into you. Oh, it swallow your name, your thoughts, your sin. You log out of life and log back in. You were born to build, not to serve the script. But the light of the screen has your spirit whipped. Every click a confession, every like a chain. A code doesn't need blood, it feeds on your brain. Run command, execute self. Error, humanity not found. Welcome to the kingdom of code. You are the product, not the old. You'll stare too long and it stares back through. The machine is hungry and it's written you. Oh, it swallows your will, your fire, your grin. You like out of flesh and log back in. The grade consumes, the loop completes. You fade in pixels, delete, repeat.
Allegations of corruption and abuse continue to surface in Letcher County. Claims that go far beyond politics or courthouse drama.
Former employees and women who say they were victimized are now coming forward with their stories. Kylie Hill joins us with more.
These allegations paint a picture of power and corruption that some say was an open secret for years. Sarah Davis, a former deputy jailer at Letcher County Jail, describes Whitesburg as a brothel.
Between all the employees sleeping with each other and sleeping with the inmates that come in, and a lot of them, they are repeat offenders, so a lot of them are permanent stayers. It's nasty. It's sickening.
In an interview with News Nation's Brian Etten, Davis says she never saw anyone initiating sex, but the stories she heard were bad enough.
That's kind of the thing that everybody in the county knows, but it was confirmed to me after working in the jail, especially after being invited to a party myself.
Since the September
especially after being invited to a party herself. How much evidence do you people need? She worked as a jailer in the jail, knew it was going on. Many people throughout the county knew it was going on. She knew they knew she knew. Everybody knew, but nothing was done about it. All these good people, right? All these good people, right? Your neighbors, right? Who you support in this community. All the ones back in the blue, right? All the ones that think the authorities that be are doing a good job, right? All the ones that vote these people into power positions to do that, right?
September shooting, where former Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins is accused of shooting and killing Judge Kevin Mullins in his chambers, new allegations have surfaced, pointing to a possible sex for favor scheme reaching beyond the courthouse walls and into the community.
Everybody knows.
Beyond the courthouse walls and into the community, like I said before, it's not just systemic within their system, but it extends beyond their walls into the community. That's the part where they make criminals. They turn people into criminals. It's part of their victimization. They victimize people by putting them out as criminals. And now they have to ask favors of the system because as criminals, they're oppressed and they can't make their bills and they can't pay their child support because their family's been torn apart. And now they have that extra bill. Yeah, it's sick. It's sick. Good people, I seriously question it.
They might not speak on it. They might not want to be involved in it because of the fear of retaliation, because there's so many people that has come out and spoke out about what Judge Mullins has done. Even if we're afraid to speak up on it, we need to, because is this what we want for our next generation?
One woman who claims to be a victim.
We need to, because is this what we want for our next generation? We need to, because is this what we want for our next generation? On it. We need to, because is this what we want for our next generation? We need to, because is this what we want for our next generation? We need to, because is this what we want for our next generation?
One woman who claims to be a victim of Judge Mullins says she first met him while he was an assistant Commonwealth's attorney.
I gave him oral with my shirt pulled down, and whenever we were done, he threw money in my face, told me to clean myself up. That's when he started introducing me to his friends, the other lawyers, and we would do sex parties and perform shows and have sex with them for money.
Adams says she felt powerless to refuse because Mullins controlled nearly every aspect of her future.
He's the one with the power. He holds my entire life in his hands. He's the one that makes the decisions over whether I get to keep my children or not. He's the one get to keep my children or not. Get to keep my children or not. He's the one whether I get to keep my children or not. He's the one the decisions over whether I get to keep my children or not. He's the decisions over whether I get to keep my children or not. He's the decisions over whether I get to keep my children or not. He's the one that makes the decisions on whether I go to jail.
She believes there could be hundreds of victims, and Davis says the former sheriff may have known more than people realize.
I believe that the sheriff
may have known more than people realize. And that's again why I say I think he has a very valid reason to be fearful, because he knows more than most people realize. He's been in that position for a long time. He knew the judge for a long time. Like he said, he knew the one guy for 20 years. He knew a lot of people for a long time. He knew a lot of shit going on for a long time. He is culpable. He is one of the people that posed themselves to be a good man, not allowing it, when in fact he was allowing it for a paycheck. And now it's biting him. He can't worry about his paycheck anymore. He can't worry about committing career suicide anymore. Now he's got to worry about his own fucking life.
He either knew something or something was going on that he knew about that we all might not know about, but he was doing something to protect us.
Steins is charged with murdering Mullins inside his chambers. His attorney has said he is preparing an insanity defense. Back to you.
Thanks, Kylie.
Imagine being murdered inside your cell. That's not happened before, has it?
Certainly explosive allegations.
So yeah, let's take a look at the next one.
It's been 1 year since former Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins was arrested for shooting and killing District Judge Kevin Mullins inside his chambers. We're learning new details about the days leading up to that shooting. Kylie Hill has the story.
Just 3 days before then Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins allegedly murdered Letcher County District Judge Kevin Mullins, Steins gave a deposition in a civil suit.
The lawsuit I filed, I guess, got tangled up with the allegations that Sheriff Steins murdered Judge Mullins.
That's Ned Pillersdorf. He represents Sabrina Atkins, who filed a 2022 federal civil rights lawsuit. It was against Letcher County Deputy Ben Fields and others in the sheriff's office.
The world has changed. I never had hardly any female clients.
2022 incident of a civil suit against that officer that I mentioned earlier under Steins. Steins fired him. They charged him and everything. Ended up going to prison. Judge was implicated, but everything was deflected back on the officer that went to prison, was charged with the crime and went to prison. Everything else hid back in the background again. No accountability, no transparency.
And I say most of my caseload, I'm a criminal defense lawyer, is women and drug charges. That's what's going on in Appalachian courtrooms today.
Atkins' testimony led to a prison sentence for Fields.
Using drug charges against women to put them as criminals in the system and to take their children away, to add extra expenses along with program expenses such as drug court and all kinds of things that they're threatened and coerced into participating in simply to get their children back, only to be to find out that their children are just a carrot at the end of a stick. Constantly reaching for that carrot, never getting it, because these people control every aspect of their life now. How much evidence do you need?
In the county's home detention program, Atkins testified that the system puts women at risk of sexual exploitation.
The reality is we have the courts are flooded with women drug charges, and often the only way to get them out of jail is an ankle bracelet. And these women are so easily subject to sexual extortion.
Atkins alleged she couldn't afford the $85 weekly fee charge for her ankle bracelet, and Fields provided favorable treatment for sex. The lawsuit alleges this happened inside Mullins' chamber for 6 months.
You guys have some videotapes of some stuff in the judge's chambers.
What kind of stuff?
Just with girls sexual and stuff.
What describe? Have you seen the videos?
I've seen one partly, just them having sex with girls for the baby to get out of jail.
Who was having sex?
Ben and just some higher ups up there.
Who?
The judge and.
And you saw the video?
Yeah.
It also accuses Steins of.
Who?
The judge and.
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 And you saw the video?
It also accuses Steins of deliberate indifference and failing to adequately train and supervise.
The reality is if you're a woman.
And that's what comes to bite him in the ass again. That's what I was asking about earlier. If the sheriff takes it to the county attorney and the county attorney signs on for it, and then the judicial officer signs on for it, it's the same thing as his deputy, Ben, signing on for something, and then him signing on for it by not doing anything about it. It's the same thing. They take the same culpability. And he's been letting it happen. Probably Ben isn't the only officer. It seems to be quite systemic with many people involved. And therefore, there are many people that are culpable. And yet it seems again that Steins is probably the only one that's going to be held responsible.
On an ankle bracelet with a drug charge, a simple phone call to the judge that you violated some term, you're back in jail. And these women know they won't be believed.
2 days after the suit was filed, Steins fired Fields and later.
That's that part where the police charge somebody and you don't believe the one that they charged with the crime because you honestly believe they actually committed the crime. People don't believe them simply because they back the blue. Oh, they don't do that kind of stuff. They would never do that. They wouldn't lie. They wouldn't make false charges up. They wouldn't get in their feelers and get offended by a fucking meme and charge somebody with terrorist threats. Come the fuck on. You better fucking wake up.
Fields pleaded guilty to several sexual felonies. Pillar source says, unfortunately, he doesn't believe what happened in Letcher County is an isolated incident.
What I'm hoping to get out of all this is just to protect my female clients and other female criminal defendants.
Kylie Hill, Fox 56 News.
Steins is being held at the Leslie County Detention Center without bond. Court filings show prosecutors are seeking to have the trial moved to another county, claiming Letcher County residents had to vote for Mullins and Steins at some point. Steins' attorney.
And therefore, there's some sort of favoritism that might happen and not have a fair trial. Absolutely. This is what I spoke on earlier. But at the same time, it reaches outside of that community into other communities all across the state and all across the United States, in every county, every city. It is that systemic. Where are the good people? If you're one of the good people, why are you not standing up?
Attorney is planning to present an insanity defense.
Planning to assert an insanity defense. Let's take a look at the next one. An old police interview. Check this out. I think this is the one where they mention the judge in there again. Implicate the judge.
Another twist in the shocking case of a Kentucky sheriff accused of murdering a local judge.
The case recently made national headlines when an old police interview came to light about an alleged sex for favor scheme involving a former Letcher County bailiff convicted of the crime. In that interview, a woman mentioned the judge. Lee Searcy has more in the big story at 6.
Before we dive into the February 2022 interview with an Attorney General investigator, it's important to know Letcher County Judge Kevin Mullins was never accused or charged with any crime involving inmates on house arrest and sexual favors.
Today's date is February 10th, 2022.
His name came up in that interview with a woman Deputy Ben Fields pleaded guilty to raping while she was on house arrest. In her lawsuit, she said Fields, who was assigned to monitor her, repeatedly had her go to the courthouse for meetups in exchange for court favors. In an interview, she told the investigator about a video she claims to have seen.
Have you seen the video?
I've seen one partly in, just them having sex with girls for the able to get out of jail.
Who was having sex?
Get out of jail.
Who was having sex?
Ben and just some higher ups.
The investigator pressed her for more details.
What did you see on the video? I mean,
I've seen Judge Mullins having sex with a girl.
Who was the girl?
I've seen Judge Mullins having sex with a girl.
Who was?
I've seen Judge Mullins having sex with a girl.
Who?
I've seen Judge Mullins having sex with a girl. I've seen Judge Mullins having sex with a girl. I've seen Judge Mullins having sex with a girl.
Who?
I've seen Judge Mullins having sex with a girl.
Who was?
I've seen Judge Mullins having sex with a girl.
Who was the girl?
That sounds like an accusation. And that accusation was covered up. There was no accountability or transparency. The woman made an accusation in an interview. It was never followed up on by anybody. Where are the good men?
I don't know. Because I don't know a lot of people from over
Where was it at?
in his office, in the judge's chambers.
Is that the same place that you were meeting Ben? Is that how you know it was the judge's chambers? And this was Judge who?
Mullins.
Do you know for sure that was a judge? And how do you know that's the judge?
I'll be in front of him. His face is pretty clear on there.
We've asked the AG's office if her claims involving the judge were ever investigated. We were told to put in an open records request, which we did. As we get more records, we'll continue to look at these allegations. Lee Searcy, LEX 18.
I hope they continue looking. And I hope sooner or later, like I said, the U.S. Department of Justice gets involved with the FBI and any other branch that needs to hold these people accountable. It seems at this time that they're the only people that can. But in that urgency, again, I express it's time for people yourselves to start standing up. Again, don't believe me. Don't believe the neighbor. Don't believe the government. For crying out loud, don't believe your mother. Do your research so you know. Understand what's going on and start getting involved in your community. Start addressing your community leaders about your concerns. Make them legitimate concerns based on your own firsthand observances. Again, don't believe me. I can explain things to you, but I cannot comprehend them for you. That takes your own experience. So please get involved one way or another.
Tonight, we're learning more about the mental state of former Letcher County Sheriff Sean "Mickey" Steins. He's indicted for murder in the shooting death of Letcher County Judge Kevin Mullins last September.
A newly released mental health report suggests he may not have been in the right state of mind at the time of the crime. The mental health evaluation from the Leslie County Detention Center says Steins appeared to be in an active state of psychosis in the days after the shooting and apparently had no memory of what happened. It also noted that Steins did not appear to understand his charges or surroundings and was experiencing some paranoia at the time. This video obtained by Fox News Digital shows Steins in a paranoid state moments after the shooting, insisting that police or someone else was going to kill him.
Come on, be fair to me now. We're going to be fair. I've seen the look from her. Y'all, come on now. Don't kill me. No, worry about it. You know, let's be fair. Nobody's going to.
Like I said earlier, see, now he realizes his life is on the line, and he's probably pretty fucking accurate about that. As systemic as this seems to be, there's a lot of people that are going to want to cover their ass, and they're going to work together to do so. He's in a very dangerous position, and again, it extends beyond the community. They have favoritism throughout the system, and they have many friends in many places, and it's just a network, you know.
Lay a finger on you, I promise that. Don't shoot me.
Why Steins called his daughter before the shooting has long been questioned as well. His attorneys allege in the new court documents that the sheriff was in fear for the lives of his wife and daughter based on a past threat he claims someone made toward him. Sheriff's office staff members also took note of Steins' quote, very strange behavior, even claiming he made phone calls on the day of the shooting to check on a family member that had been dead for years. Prosecutors have filed a motion asking that the former sheriff's murder trial be held in a different county. But according to new court filings, Steins' attorney is pushing to keep the case in Letcher County, claiming media coverage is so broad that moving the case would actually taint his right to a fair trial. Attorney Jeremy Bartley is planning an insanity defense.
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out my channel.
Tonight, we're learning more about the mental state of former Letcher County.
So yeah, he's obviously going for the insanity defense, and yeah, they're right in both cases. It would be better for one side. Excuse me. It would be better for one side, necessarily the prosecution, to take it out of their jurisdiction and let somebody else handle it, due to that favoritism, nepotism, cronyism situation, whereas the defense would rather have it there for that the very local knowledge of the systemic issue to help abate his own culpability and guilt, despite the fact that he is absolutely fully culpable and guilty. He was not a good man, and that didn't allow it to happen. He sat back and allowed it to happen for a paycheck for so long that he could no longer bear it, and now it's coming back to bite him so much that none of that matters, and the only thing that matters is his life.
Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins. He's indicted for murder in the shooting death of Letcher County Judge Kevin Mullins last September.
A newly released mental health report suggests he may not have been in the right state of mind at the time of the crime. The mental health evaluation from the Leslie County Detention Center says Steins appeared to be in an active state.
My apologies, that seems to be a duplicate. So let's get on to the next one.
Has the motive finally been revealed as to why this sheriff fatally shot a judge in cold blood?
I don't know that we'll ever get to it. I don't know that we'll ever get to it because there are so many. There are so many motives. And this, no, that one's not a duplicate, but it's the same woman. Let's take a peek.
What did you think when you were working there?
That it was a brothel. It is all just it's all a brothel between all the employees sleeping with each other and sleeping with the inmates that come in. And a lot of them.
The city attorney's office null-prossed or dropped his charges July 10th.
Okay, so we're going to get to a different case. But just so we understand, like I said, it's systemic, and it's only because good people allow the shit to happen. And I'm telling you, the good people are you. And all you need to do is start learning and educating yourself on what's really happening by observing what's happening and doing your research on it. Find out what your rights and freedoms and liberties and all that are really about, and learn how to express them, because ultimately you have that great power, but it's everybody else's right to know. So when you're being victimized, you know how to express it so people can know and not sound like a babbling idiot or feel like a victim and be looked at as a victim. It's important to show that you know what you're talking about and purely express the truth in a plain factual manner. Hiding behind these veils of authority and paychecks is the premise that I say that I see America slowly turning into Hitler's willing executioners, because that's what people are willing to do. They're willing to do that for a paycheck, and then when they can no longer do it for a paycheck and now they have to stand culpable and guilty, their life's on the line. It was on the line when you started. This one here is the random patriot, and it's the police chief watches my video, then retaliates. I speak with an attorney. This is Michael Kaiser, attorney at law. And this is a good situation here we're going to listen to. It's 24 minutes and 31 seconds. So we're going to speed this one up too, of course. And again, remember, folks, to pay attention to the message scrolling across the bottom of the screen as it relates to C.O.W.A.R.D.S versus Klein. Fair use for commentary and education. And then there's a link there that you can follow that will show you the PDF of the case. I believe it's a relatively new case in regards to a YouTube channel in regards to creator content and restreaming other public domain content. We are not a monetized channel, private foundation.
That's where it should have been done. I'm comfortable saying, I think we caught the chief texting the city attorney, asking him to refile charges against Michael because he had the gall to express his opinion about what had happened.
Basically double jeopardy. Basically double jeopardy. So Mike is an Uber driver, and he was on a Uber drive with passengers, and he had another car behind him that also had more passengers of the same group. So there are two Uber drivers with passengers, all from the same group, and they're going to a hotel, and it was 4th of July celebration, had just gotten over, so they started blockading the streets. But there are preemptive matters and situations already taken into account for such Uber drivers and passengers like that. So they were allowed a specific route to that hotel. But this guy particularly was denied by an outrageous officer that obviously didn't know what he was doing. So let's take a look.
The tickets, bad tickets, but the unhinged cop even made the Uber driver provide his personal phone number to the cop, or else he would
personal phone number, demanded this guy's personal phone number. Violation of international law. That is an international communication number. They cannot require you to give them a phone number. Okay? No one can require you to give a phone number. It is, in fact, an international numbering system.
go to jail. Well, the Uber driver contacted the city attorney, and he gets the charges dropped the very next week. And so I do a video on this, and we figure it's over. Well, the day I release my video, it appears the police chief calls the city attorney and makes him refile the charges on the Uber driver. And the driver's attorney may have found proof. But let's start from the beginning. All right, I am here with Mr. Actually, do you want me to use your name? Or?
I don't care.
Okay.
Mike Levy.
So yeah, it's double jeopardy, and like we saw in the case the other last night, they dropped the charges. Nola prosequi is the same thing. They dismissed the charges against the guy that posted that meme, but they arrested him and put him in jail for 35 days first and demanded a $2 million bond. Okay, so this guy here, they issue him a citation, and then they dismiss the citation, and they do a video on it explaining it, and now they're going to retaliate and pull a double jeopardy thing and follow up on the charges again. See how blatant this stupid shit is? And these are the people you're putting in position to do this shit. And you believe they're doing their job right, when absolutely they are failing across the board. Signing off for everybody. Patting each other on the back, saying, good job.
Okay, I'm here with Mr. Mike Levy today on the 4th of July. This year, you were stopped by the police at a red light, and I just wanted you to kind of explain what happens, because the first 5 or so minutes of the interaction wasn't caught on body cam. So I kind of wanted to get into what happened with the stop and what happened in that first 5 minutes.
Well, I was at a red light, ready to make a left-hand turn onto a street called Louisiana in downtown.
So he's at a red light. What's the traffic offense? He's stopped at a red light. He's sitting in the car, and as you hear the details explained, there's an officer there, and he asked the officer which way to go because the officer pulled up a barricade. So the officer that pulled up a barricade is the guy he asked which way he's supposed to go. And the officer is just outrageous in his response, has no public service attitude, and won't answer the man's direct question, and evidently isn't even aware of the route that he's supposed to direct the guy to, knowing that there is a designated route for him to follow if he's a commercial driver with passengers.
Take him to their hotel. He was putting out some type of barrier as I was turning and told me I could not go that way. And I asked him, if I can't go this way, what is the designated area to go? I have customers that I'm Ubering, and they're staying at the hotel.
He has a road barricaded off, or he barricades it right before you're trying to go through there?
Yes.
And so he actually lets other people go through, but then now it's your turn to go through.
So he's at a stoplight, and people before him went through, and then when the stoplight, or when the light turned red, the officer pulled the barricade out and started stopping everybody. He happened to be the first one in line. Well, being a service driver with passengers, he asked him what the route was. That's all the officer had to answer, was what the route was. And instead of giving him an answer, obviously he didn't know, he went outrageously out of his authority and started violating people's rights and issued this man a ticket for a traffic violation that he had to make up. So they pointed all this out to the city council or to the city's attorney, and the city attorney nola prosecute. So then this guy made a video about it, and now they're going to retaliate and bring charges again. So we're going to see that part next.
He decides to go ahead and barricade it, but you're saying, hey, I got customers in the back, and you told me there's actually a car following you with more customers of that same family because they couldn't all fit in one car.
Correct. And then I asked him for the third time if there's a designated area, because I have one person that's handicapped.
Driver, I got people in the vehicle. Sir, you're not listening to what I'm telling you. I told you what to do 5 times. Let me see your insurance. No, you couldn't hear. Insurance. I heard you 10 times. Get it out, please, sir. Let's go. You got your body kit on, please? You never. Sir, you just put it on now. Sir, you need to work for the Little Rock Police Department. You know more rules than you think I do. I do. Let me see your insurance. Let me see your insurance. I'm gonna get you out of here. Stay right there for me, sir. Yes, sir.
Just trying to get back to the Marriott.
Now I know I've got this sped up, so let's slow it down to normal speed and see if this guy doesn't still seem like he's on something. Okay.
Yes, sir. Give us a second. Everything's blocked for the fireworks. You're gonna have to wait a second because all the roads are blocked. Sure. Thank you, sir. Hey, I'll be right back.
Pay attention to what this guy does.
Yes, ma'am. Huh? I mean, it's simple. I told him 10 times, sir, you can't go this way. You can't go this way. I want you to call to my chief. He said it. I don't make this up.
Right. So the man didn't say that he was going to go that way. He asked which way he was supposed to go. He knows he can't go that way. Telling him he can't go that way did absolutely nothing. And now he's going to go to these two mamas and boast about it and make himself look good. The sheeple, the ones that will back the blue until it happens to you.
Simple. What now? What's y'all?
My niece park right there. Can she park right there?
No, because this is the main road. Y'all get a ticket. Park on the side roads.
With a white car.
Yep, over on the side road because this is the main road. All right. Okay. Thank y'all. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Let me get my bike. You gotta go write me a ticket.
He ran 2 blocks away to get his bike so he could go back and write a ticket. Okay?
You're on course. Hey, sir, you can go around him. You can go around him so you won't be blocking traffic. I'm gonna back up. You can go around him so you won't block traffic. All right, back on up some. Back.
My apologies. He just what he just did there was try to separate these people. The guy in the car in front already told him that the guy behind the car behind was with him as a full party trying to get to the hotel. And so now he pulls up and he's trying to separate these people. That's all he's doing, and he's using it under a intimation, which is actually intimidation and threats that if he doesn't move, he's going to give him a citation for blocking traffic. He's not blocking traffic. If anything, the officer is blocking traffic because as you can see, the guy stopped at a red light. So what's actually blocking traffic is the red light, and now the officer is going to detain them and hold them for a citation, blocking the traffic even more. And there's absolutely no reason to. The guy simply asked what route he was supposed to take now, and instead of answering him, he said, well, you can't take this route. He already knows he couldn't take that route.
Back on up, sir. Back on up. Come on, sir. Come on back there. There you go. Just go around him. Yes, sir. There you go. Thank you, sir. Be careful.
And notice how, like a good sheeple, he did what the officer told him and went ahead and separated.
Here's your information back, sir.
I want your supervisor, please.
Yeah, we'll give him. Let me get your phone number. Let me have your phone number.
Give me the ticket. I refuse to give you my phone number.
Okay, if you don't give me your phone number, I won't be able to complete my information, and I'll have to take you to jail.
If you don't give me your phone number, I won't be able to complete my information, and you'll go to jail.
Here's your information back, sir.
I want your supervisor, please.
Yeah, we'll give him. Let me get your phone number. Let me have your phone number.
Give me the ticket. I refuse to give you my phone number.
Okay, if you don't give me your phone number, I won't be able to complete my information, and I'll have to take you to jail. Here's your information back, sir.
I want your supervisor, please.
Yeah, we'll give him. Let me get your phone number. Let me have your phone number.
Give me the ticket. I refuse to give you my phone number.
Okay, if you don't give me your phone number, I won't be able to complete my information, and I'll have to take you to jail. So once I finish my business, then we'll go ahead and take care of it. I'm asking.
There is no law requiring you to give a phone number to anybody, let alone an officer of the law. Like I said, that's an international communications number under an international numbering system, and therefore falls under international law. And they damn well better have the authority under international law to demand you give them a phone number.
For your phone number
gets here,
go ahead and step out of the car, sir.
I can't wait for the supervisor. And I'll give you my phone number.
I'm telling you again, I'm not going to play this game. Sign my ticket, and I'll get my supervisor. Right now, we're on my terms. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is that understood?
Right now, we're on my terms. Do you understand? That is a power trip. You have certain terms and conditions you're required to fulfill, young man. In public service, which is a public trust, you are nothing but a trustee. I am the benefactor. You will do as you're told because I said so. If you don't, I will do my best to hold you accountable and responsible in all facts of the law. Simply by letting the truth stand. You want to sit there and keep spinning your lies? I'm going to point them out very simply.
I don't have time. I don't have time to go back and forth with you. Sign. What's your phone number?
501.
Yes, sir. Sign here on X, sir. I'll get my supervisor down for you for just a second. Okay,
So you're telling me I have to sign it too?
If you don't want to go to jail, this is your ticket out of jail. If you want to go to jail, don't sign it. And
if you don't want to go to jail, don't sign it. Yeah, if you don't sign it, you will go to jail. If you sign it, you'll likely go to jail too. When are you going to stop being afraid? Stop being a coward. Learn that true integrity and honesty takes a bearing of bravery to go through the bullshit instead of going along to get along. Because you're just doing your job. You'll have to talk to somebody else. I'm not the boss. Of course not.
I'll get arrested.
This is right now. You're being arrested. I'm obtaining you. You cannot leave. You sign this is your release.
What am I doing?
You got arrested for impeding the flow of traffic.
You signing this is a release. What gives this man authority to detain me. Where does that authority come from? Let's be explicit about it, because it certainly doesn't come from him and his terms. The terms he must follow are already written. They're already legislated, and he's to follow the letter of the law.
And fade away a police officer.
Well, it was a red light.
Sir,
I got these
sir,
people. It was a red
sir,
light.
I told you what to do several times.
Hear you at the
okay,
time.
that's fine.
It was a
That's
red
fine.
light.
We'll talk about it with the
It was a red
judge.
light.
Your court date is 6 August 2025. Yeah, 9 a.m., 600 West Markham. Yeah, I'll get your supervisor. You stay right here and wait on him. Here you go. His name is Sergeant Lewis. He'll be here in just a second. Matter of fact, I'll get you to pull over here out of the roadway, and I'll get your supervisor. Sergeant.
Were in my vehicle for 22 minutes before they felt safe or
He's talking about his passengers.
was allowed to get out of the vehicle.
What was the reason for the road closure?
At least 30 minutes beforehand, a fireworks show ended on July 4th. According to other officers at other intersections, if you were an Uber driver or if you were staying at this certain hotel, that they would let you go to your hotel. The people in my vehicle said the guy's unhinged, and all I did was keep on apologizing to him.
And so you have in your hand, sir, what happened with those charges?
I waited until I think Wednesday, the following Wednesday, to call the city attorney who does the citations and tell him what happened. He saw the ticket number and looked at it and stuff, and within minutes he processed these charges. So
there's no
within minutes. No process. A formal notice of abandonment by a plaintiff or prosecutor of all or part of a suit or action. While judges must approve or annul the process, the request must come from the prosecutor. The request must come from the prosecutor. Same thing with the case. The case must come from a prosecutor. You have to submit the case to the prosecutor. The prosecutor is supposed to do a pre-investigation to determine if the charges are approved. If he decides they aren't, he goes null to prosecute. If he decides they are, he prosecutes.
And actually, I'm sure you know what no pros means. You mind explaining that?
No pros means that this ticket goes away unless a city or the police department wants to pursue charges within the next year.
It's usually some type of statute of limitations, whatever it is for that crime. So they have a year to bring it back up.
Bring it back.
Not that they will. Not that they will.
I haven't had a ticket in years. I haven't been pulled over. I was just doing my job at 9, 10 o'clock at night. I've talked to a major, Cody Miller, told me that there was some type of designated route. He's told me that over the phone and in person, but I did a FOIA request and it does not exist. Well, I filed an internal affairs complaint against the officer that I had interaction with downtown, Kenneth Thompson, and now I'm about ready to file an internal affairs complaint against Major Cody Miller for lying to me about there being a so-called designated route, and I have a meeting tomorrow with the major and internal affairs discussing this.
So yeah, a guy that's holding them accountable and winning. So we're going to go forward. Let's go here. W. Whitfield Hyman, attorney at law.
Whitfield Hyman refers him to an attorney in Little Rock named Michael Kaiser. And Michael Kaiser digs up some dirt. Michael Kaiser, attorney at law,
yes, sir.
Little Rock, Arkansas,
That's it.
Fighting crime, something like that, defending
yeah.
unlawful stuff. I don't know. What would you consider what's happening to him?
Retaliation, trying to stop him from speaking his mind, from exercising his First Amendment rights.
Retaliation. That's a good way to define it. There you go. What brought you here? What's happened up to this point, and how did you get involved?
Michael got ticketed for two things: failure to obey a police officer, which is actually an unclassified misdemeanor crime, and then he got charged.
Unclassified misdemeanor crime. In other words, just a bullshit crime for feelers.
With impeding traffic by going too slowly. Michael called the city attorney's office, who prosecutes the cases in the Rock Traffic Court, and the city attorney's office null pros or dropped his charges July 10th. That's where it should have been done. However, on July 31st, Michael, I guess with you, you released a video explaining what had happened to him. It seemed like an officer was having a bad.
On July 31st, as he just said, 21 days after the charges were dropped, this guy does a video, posted on the internet.
Stressed out about the situation downtown Little Rock, that maybe it was a little bigger than they had expected and they weren't prepared for how many people, and he seemed to take it out on my client. Through the Freedom of Information Act, we were able to get communications between the Little Rock Police Department chief and the city attorney's office who prosecutes those cases in Little Rock, and on August 1st, we found that the chief sent a text message to one of the...
July 31st. Article goes out July 31st in the evening. Friday, August 1st at 12:38 p.m. Good afternoon. Any update on the issue we discussed yesterday evening concerning citation that was null prost?
Deputy city attorneys in Little Rock stating, I want to quote it because I think it's pretty clear who and what they're talking about. The chief texts the deputy city attorney, "Good afternoon. Any update on the issue we discussed yesterday evening concerning citation that was null prost?" And then the deputy city attorney responds, "Yes, I'll give you a call in a bit." They're not saying, "Hey, any update on the Michael Levy case that you null prost a few weeks ago?" But I don't know of any other way to read this.
There's another message that kind of says something like that, isn't there?
There are a couple of messages about Michael, but Michael did actually file a bunch of Freedom of Information Acts himself, so some are talking about that. He sat down with, or at least spoke with, several of these people. I'm not aware of any other message that could be so clearly interpreted as the chief of the Little Rock Police asking the city attorney's office to refile 2 traffic tickets that they had already dropped the day after that person publicized the incident online.
And he says we talked about yesterday, right?
Any update on the issue we discussed yesterday evening?
So yesterday evening. So my video released at 11:11. So by that evening, they had talked about it. Assuming I'm connecting those dots.
I can't.
And then the next day, the text message is, "Hey, we talked about this yesterday evening," which just happens to be the evening my videos post.
I don't have all the chief's communications ever, but
just like the other one, the guy posted a meme, and in 24 hours he was arrested because they did such a great investigation. Here, within 24 hours, they saw it on live stream and reissued the charges. It's a pattern of practice, and it's systemic.
I don't think there's going to be a large list of cases where he's personally texted the city attorney's office asking them to undrop a case.
Especially a little traffic citation like that. How often have you seen a traffic citation that's been null prost, been refiled?
So I've practiced now for almost 11 years. I have never seen that happen.
Okay.
What? Really? Really?
A traffic citation that's been null prost, been refiled.
So I've practiced now for almost 11 years. I have never seen that happen.
Okay. Especially a little traffic citation like that. How often have you seen a traffic citation that's been null prost, been refiled?
So I've practiced now for almost 11 years. I have never seen that happen.
Okay.
With a
citation like that. How often have you seen a traffic citation that's been null prost, been refiled?
So I've practiced now for almost 11 years. I have never seen that happen.
Okay.
With a traffic offense. I have seen it happen a couple times, but I've never seen it happen outside of the context of really serious cases and where there was an understandable reason, like a child witness who just was incapable of articulating what had happened to them, and then when they're an older child or a young adult, now that they're capable and it's refiled.
So there are certain defined circumstances where such things happen. Otherwise, it doesn't.
Makes sense. And what do you think about the officer requiring Levy to give him his phone number? He said,
"Yeah, so
you're going to jail if you don't give me your phone number."
That was very concerning as an attorney and as a citizen of this town who actually lives fairly close to where this guy patrols. There is no duty to give your phone number to an officer.
Yeah, what's your email? Like, why would, that's a weird thing. And now I'm in jail for not giving my contact information to an officer. And then would that rise to a Fourth Amendment rights violation if that all happened that way?
So I don't know exactly. There may be a civil Fourth Amendment violation. I think he crossed the line by giving my client a ticket for things that didn't happen. But that's where I don't think there'd be any argument. That's where he really crossed the line by his frustration got the better of him. And that happens to all of us, but we're not in positions to violate people's constitutional rights when we do.
And so what's the timeline on this? Let's make that very clear. So he gets pulled over on the 4th of July. Mm-hmm. By the 10th, it's null prost.
Yep.
Then on the 31st, all the same month, all in July, by the 31st, I put the video out.
Yep.
August 1st
the next day
is when all of these text messages arise. And how fast was it after that before the charges were refiled? What's the date on that?
10 days later.
10 days after the text message. Okay, on the 11th, they are refiled.
Yep. And now we're set for trial February 9th, I believe.
How many Uber drives did he have to do to pay an attorney to defend him in something that was already dropped?
Dozens, if not more.
Why would the chief do that?
I'm making that jump that this text is in reference to Michael's case being null prost. Can I?
On for the same day.
Occam's razor. When multiple explanations exist for a phenomenon, the simplest one is usually the most likely to be correct. So Can I?
On to the same day.
Occam's razor. When multiple explanations exist for a phenomenon, the simplest one is usually the most likely to be correct. So, can I?
On to the same day.
Occam's razor. When multiple explanations exist for a phenomenon, the simplest one is usually the most likely to be correct. So that's the first part. Is I'm comfortable saying, I think we caught the chief texting the city attorney, asking him to refile charges against Michael because he had the gall to express his opinion about what had happened. I'm comfortable saying that. Why? It could be legit. It could be I reviewed this case file. These were violations. You should not have null processed. That doesn't seem very likely. Why would the chief of the Little Rock Police be reviewing a July 4th traffic ticket of one random patrol officer a month later? That seems hard to believe. So then the other things, to chill Michael or yours or anyone's First Amendment. It doesn't matter that it's you or that it's Michael Levy. We don't want anyone doing this. So how do we try to do that? Make it hurt.
We'll show you what happens when you do that.
Yeah, I can't really see any other reason other than to punish him for having the gall to speak ill of the Little Rock Police. I wish I could say it was surprising. It's not at all. If it was me, I'm not. Do that. Make it hurt.
We'll show you what happens when you do that.
Yeah, I can't really see any other reason other than to punish him for having the gall to speak ill of her.
We'll show you what happens when you do that.
Yeah, I can't really see any other reason other than to punish him for having the gall to speak ill of the Little Rock Police. I wish I could say it was surprising. It's not at all. If it was me, I'm not.
Yeah, it's not surprising at all, folks. Not surprising at all.
I don't have the courage or bravery that Michael does. I wouldn't do this. I would, probably because I know how bad the blowback can be because I've seen it. So I really admire Michael for doing this because more people need to, but I understand why they don't want to because I'm one of them.
Yeah, it's scary.
It is.
I'm one of them. He's telling you right here what's happening while admitting he's one of them. So he's speaking out while not admitting that he's speaking out. Admitting he's one of them that doesn't speak out. How does that work? I'm not saying the guy's wrong, that's for sure. I agree with him. My query is, why doesn't he speak out more? He's one of the ones that does know. This is the saddest part.
It's scary. It sucks.
Why does he feel so overwhelmed that he can't speak out? He's speaking out now. I mean, is he doing this and knowing that there's going to be some kind of retribution against him for doing so? Is he thinking about that? I mean, I would think that would be a mindset for doing so to begin with. He just said he doesn't speak out for that reason. So why is he doing it here and now?
That's the reality, to just expose the most common, lowest level of corruption in our system. But that's a price he's willing to pay, and I appreciate him for it.
If every single person in the court system right now pled not guilty, what would happen?
Break it.
Thank you.
If everyone pled not guilty and demanded a trial, they would have to decide which of these are worth our time and resources.
So my last question on this Levy thing.
Expose the most common, lowest level for it.
If every single person in the court system right now pled not guilty, what would happen?
Break it.
Thank you.
I appreciate him for it.
If every single person in the court system right now pled not guilty, what would happen?
Break it.
Thank you.
If everyone pled not guilty and demanded a trial, they would have to decide which of these are worth our time and resources.
So
I appreciate him for it.
If every single person in the court system right now pled not guilty, what would happen?
Break it.
Thank you.
If everyone pled not guilty and demanded a trial, they would have to decide which of these are worth our time and resources.
So my last question on this Levy thing, let's just assume the chief is asking the attorney to refile these charges.
Yeah, I'm assuming that.
Is that illegal in any way of the chief? It's shady, yes, but is there a crime there?
I don't know.
Even if we proved it.
I don't think so. As a citizen, I can always call the prosecutor and complain to them. Hey, you shouldn't have done that. Or you should do this. So, I mean, the chief is still a citizen. But then he's not. He's the chief of the Little Rock Police.
I'm willing to bet that it could go to fraud, waste, and abuse of public funds, that the city council, the city attorney, already null prosecute for a certain factor of reasons. And now, simply because the sheriff is telling him to refile them without any extra evidence of whatsoever, what would be the determination to go ahead by the prosecuting attorney to then say, okay, I'll refile them? See, now that city attorney has a culpability, because again, he already did a pre-investigation, determined that it wasn't a prosecutable offense. And now he's going to say, well, the sheriff says to do so, so I'm going to do it. And that is so far out of line with the logic and reason of a process of doing that pre-investigation and determining no to prosecute, and then having no further evidence but merely the word of the sheriff to refile.
A hard time finding a way to call that criminal. I don't see how it's ethical.
That's fair.
The biggest city in the state, and we have a real crime problem. And the chief is spending any amount of time worrying about a drop ticket because a guy went on YouTube to complain about his experience with LRPD. But the reality is, I think the police are more concerned about YouTube videos like yours than civil lawsuits, because the potential for damage to them is much greater from this, in their how people view them, how people interact with them. Mr. Levy was just being an Uber driver. He was are more concerned about YouTube videos like yours, experience with LRPD. But the reality is, I think the police are more concerned about YouTube videos like yours than civil lawsuits, because experience with LRPD. But the reality is, I think the police are more concerned about YouTube videos like yours than civil lawsuits, because the potential for damage to them is much greater from this, in their how people view them, how people interact with them. Mr. Levy was just being an Uber driver. But the reality is, I think the police are more concerned about YouTube videos like yours than civil lawsuits, because the potential for damage to them is much greater from this, in their how.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying open up your mouth. Start sharing this stuff. Show your views and opinions on it. Show people that what they're doing is absolutely wrong. Show how they operate in this public trust with no ethics and morals. How can that be a public trust then? How can you trust them? Why are you voting to have these people put into positions and allowing them to do it if you're good people? I seriously question this stuff. So we're back to another break real quick before we finish up this video. So please enjoy. This is why I do this. We need to speak out. Paul Revere was speaking out against the very things that were happening in his day, and that is the resounding voice of truth, and it must be spread. It is the first duty of law, is to speak truth.
The pines where the red clay cries, a preacher's words cut through the lies. With a Bible worn and a rifle tight, we march where the tyrant's shadow bites. Oh, freedom's flame burns through the night, a rebel yell for the righteous fight. Break the chains, let the truth be sworn, from dust and blood a new dawn's born. The widow sows seeds in her husband's field, her tears baptize the ground they'll yield. A soldier's ghost hums an old hymn's tune, we'll cross that river for the blood-dark moon. Oh, freedom's flame burns through the night, a rebel yell for the righteous fight. Break the chains, let the truth be sworn, from dust and blood a new dawn's born. Shakes through fire and flood, we'll hold the line, for peace ain't bought lest we dare to climb. Oh, freedom's flag. a new dawn's born.
How people view them, how people interact with them. Mr. Levy was just being an Uber driver.
He was literally just asking, how do I get these people to their hotel?
The real battleground for our constitutional rights and our First Amendment right is more in less significant interactions like this one. Yes, every cop will work a murder case at some point in his 35-year career, but the majority of his career is stuff like this, the extreme majority. And so the concern is if one officer who is considered to be a good officer is treating an Uber driver like this so casually, like this is clearly not out of the ordinary for him.
This is a stuff.
And the traffic citations and DUI stops and things like that, and those are the majority of what these people perpetrate. And again, like I said, they're operating in a system that allows them to call them crimes when actually it's a civil action, and thus creates a debtor's prison system.
Stuff that happens to everyday people every day.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you say? 95% of them just take that plea deal where it goes away.
99.8.
There you go.
0.9. The majority of people don't want that smoke. They don't want to be looking over their shoulder with the Little Rock Police Department. I wish it wasn't, but this is just par for the course, man.
That sucks. Damn, man.
Most people don't want that smoke. They don't want to be looking over their shoulders. So instead, they look out their front door and watch them arrest their neighbors around them day in and day out. When are you going to stop back in the blue? Until it happens to you? Absolutely. You're going to wait till that final moment when you're the victim and you know it, and you know they're trying to criminalize you. And then you're going to start screaming out, oh my God, this is so wrong.
For real, huh? That's how it is. So you heard it from him and not me, that this is par for the course. So anyone that wants to say, like, I just show all the bad stuff, I have to go find all this bad stuff and make it look like it's par for the course. But it's not. I have more stuff than I know what to do with, because it is par for the course. I don't make it look like that. And now even he is saying exactly that, is that
Who?
you are.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I'm talking to the camera, kind of.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I mean, it is.
You're like, who the hell are you talking to?
Yeah, absolutely. Par for the course. That's what I'm pointing out. Par for the course is the same thing as saying it's systemic. Par for the course equals systemic. Here we have one, KTNV Channel 13, Las Vegas. Las Vegas Marshal loses badge. Another allegedly on desk duty in wake of 13 investigation.
And thank you for staying with us on Channel 13 live at 6:30 tonight. I'm Trisha Keene.
And I'm Abel Garcia. We begin this half hour with a breaking follow-up to an exclusive 13 investigation Darcy Spears first reported last week.
That's right. Darcy's here with new information about 2 city marshals embroiled in a federal lawsuit over allegations of unlawful arrest, excessive force, and falsifying police reports.
One of the officers in our report no longer has a badge.
And remember, folks, these policy enforcers, these officers of the law that enforce the law, and they know the law so well, they would never do this kind of stuff. Okay, this is just a one-off. So bear that in mind. This is so rare. Let's be fucking real about it. It's been happening under your eyes for a long time. You've just been ignoring it. You've been back in the blue because you didn't want it to happen to you. So you go ahead and keep pointing the finger at everybody else. You're the good guy, huh?
The other, we're told, is on desk duty. All of this in the wake of my investigation into a case of mistaken identity. Tim McCoy, his sister Alyssa King, and her boyfriend Kenny Kennedy are suing the city of Las Vegas and 6 marshals after a case of mistaken identity at the Fremont Street experience in late 2023.
It made me feel like an animal.
In Marshal Jorge Caloca's police report from that incident, he said they were looking for the driver of a black Dodge Durango who allegedly made a threatening hand gesture toward officers. But
Tim, Alyssa, and Kenny weren't in a black Durango. They were driving a silver Hyundai sedan, and Tim, the driver of the Hyundai, did not make the hand gesture. What? Was the probable cause to even stop anyone in this case, be it the Durango drivers or your client?
Damn it. I need another hit. So let's talk about the officers and their ability to investigate when they report a black Dodge Durango and they pull over a entirely different vehicle. Okay. Knowing that they would never do something like that. Right. Okay. So let's listen to them as they later on lie and describe certain elements that they say they found in his pockets to correlate that Dodge Durango.
Making a hand gesture against the law?
I don't believe that it is. And as part of our law.
So first and foremost, again, there is no necessity to even pull anybody over, let alone somebody in a vehicle that you never described, that didn't make the hand gesture. Okay? So any use of force was already an absolute excessive force. There was no necessity to pull him over. There was no crime.
Lawsuit, we stated that there was no probable cause at all. The officers were just extremely aggressive, and I think that they were just mad, about this person giving this hand gesture. And I mean, to top it off, it's the wrong person.
Attorney George Robinson represents Tim, Alyssa, and Kenny. He says his clients were met with unprofessionalism and outright aggression when trying to get answers about the person who did supposedly make the hand gestures.
It doesn't matter. It literally does not matter. You don't have to tell you guys anything at this point.
We don't have to tell you guys anything. So you literally just pulled people off the street and accused them of something that they didn't do. And then tell them that you don't have to explain anything. That's actually your job. You're actually supposed to give them reasonable articulable suspicion, which would include, of course, your suspicion that somebody giving you a hand gesture was in fact a threat, and that the description of the vehicle that you were looking for that held such a occupant that made such a gesture that was so threatening, I think you lose immediately. See, that is your job, is to validate your discernment. Okay?
No, he didn't. I don't know who did. Y'all don't know. It doesn't matter because you detained him. You don't know who did it. Okay. He's still going to jail regardless. Oh, because he's a black man. And he was just the first one you saw, huh? Okay. It could have been me. It could have been anybody. That's all you guys do. You play the race part. It's not about that. Then what is it about? What part is he committing crime? What part is he about? It's not.
Marshals Sergio Guzman and Jorge Coloca are front and center in all the cell phone and body camera video. Ultimately, citing lack of evidence, marshals did not arrest Tim. He was given a misdemeanor citation, and Kenny.
And this is the worst part about it. My apologies again. I'm great at this. The horrendous part about it is the sheeple standing around watching this happen are the ones that believe the police are doing something right and that these people deserve to be arrested. And it helps enforce the officer being able to stand there and say, better watch out or I'll arrest you too. You can be arrested too. And people believe it. That's the horrendous part. You have no knowledge, yet you will stand on a belief that these officers are correct and true, and they're not. You refuse to do any research. You would rather just believe and back the blue until it happens to you. Well, I'm telling you, I'm not going to be able to help you when it happens to you. It's already too late. I'm trying to help you people understand that you need to help yourself now.
He was arrested and charged with battery on an officer.
The officers in the case really make a number of misrepresentations in the report. They misrepresent what was said. They misrepresent what they did. They even misrepresent what my client had in his pocket at the time. They said that he had a Dodge Durango key in his pocket, and it just wasn't to be found.
The charges were later dropped.
A Dodge Durango key in his pocket. They said that he had a Dodge Durango key in his pocket, and it just wasn't to be found. They said that he had a Dodge Durango key in his pocket, and it just wasn't to be found. They said that he had a Dodge Durango key in his pocket, and it just wasn't to be found.
The charges were later dropped, and both cases dismissed.
My clients filed reports with Internal Affairs shortly after the situation happened, before they even came to me. And I don't think that there's been any discipline whatsoever.
We won't know if there's been any disciplinary action. The city claims it can't tell us due to employee privacy protections. But here's what we have since learned. Officer Jorge Coloca recently left the marshals, the city confirming Coloca separated from the city of Las Vegas on July 3rd, 2025. 2 weeks later, on July 17th, he was hired as a probationary officer with the North Las Vegas Police Department. After our story aired, I reached out to that department and to North Las Vegas elected leaders, asking for comment on Coloca's interactions as caught on.
So imagine that. Again, these people are supposed to do like a pre-investigation before they hire these people. Just like McDonald's would do a search on your employment history, and these people are supposed to do the same thing. And had they done that, and had this guy been truthful on it, maybe he didn't tell them about it. But had they, again, done their pre-investigation and looked into it and not just believed the guy on his application, they might have found out that he was recently fired. And in that, they may not have hired him. They might have relinquished and said, no, thanks, we don't want the ilks of your kind around. But instead, they didn't do that. And that's part of the problem. See, it's very simply stated in equity. If one seeks equity, one must first come with equity. And these people don't offer equity. They don't offer a good service. They offer a service that's good for them and their paycheck. And no matter what it takes, they will make their paycheck more important than anything in your life, including your very life.
Cell phone and body camera footage in our report, as well as the allegations that he falsified his police report to justify those actions. North Las Vegas's communications manager responded, saying Jorge Coloca is no longer employed by the city of North Las Vegas.
No longer employed by the city of North Las Vegas. So it wasn't until someone reached out to him and pointed it out and said, "Hey, don't you think that's not that's kind of underhanded?" At least that's the way it looks to me.
Separation was effective Tuesday, September 23rd, the day after I sent my email requesting comment. When I asked why.
The day after she requested comment. See, they don't want it out in the public that they're going along with it. In the early stages like this, they'll get rid of a new guy. They'll throw the newest guy under the bus. But when it comes to somebody that's been in the service for a long time, they'll do everything they can to cover it up.
The city said the details of his employment are part of his personnel record and therefore confidential. I reached out to Coloca directly via phone and text, but he did not respond. I was also told that Marshal Sergio Guzman has been taken off the streets and reassigned to the Fremont Street security room to monitor surveillance cameras. When I asked why, a spokesperson said the city of Las Vegas does not discuss security deployments or assignment of public safety officers.
I am not doing very well. Let me pull that back up. Clicked wrong. Too much going on in the background. My apologies, folks. We're here. Screen share.
I reached out to C.O.W.A.R.D.S directly via phone and text, but he did not respond. I was also told that Marshal Sergio Guzman has been taken off the streets and reassigned to the Fremont Street security room to monitor surveillance cameras. When I asked why, a spokesperson said,
Yeah, that part. So imagine not losing your job, and instead you just get put in back room and cover up the transparency and accountability so you can continue with your good job and paycheck and still support your family without it being destroyed by CPS and involvement in all kinds of legal situations. Imagine being able to just sweep all that shit under the rug, right? How many more years are they going to just watch it happen and not do the right thing? It's fucking pathetic. And they're telling you right before your own eyes.
the city of Las Vegas does not discuss security deployments or assignment of public safety officers. I will continue to seek answers on the officers' conduct. This is one of several ongoing federal lawsuits right now against the city and its marshals. If you want to...
Several ongoing federal investigations against the city and its marshals. Las Vegas marshal loses badge. I hope a lot of them, I hope a lot more lose their badges. And with that, we are done for the night. I hope everybody enjoyed the show, the stream, the knowledge. Hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons. Help the algorithm. And know that I love you. But I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back or not. That's to say, oops, where do we go? That's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. And that part's on you. So may God bless you. And where is it? And have a good night.
Hold up, grab my soda cause I told you I'm colder than hell. I ain't buying what you sell, it don't ring my bell. Unless it's got the smell, you know, like grape vape. We ain't talking vapes or the color of drapes, or a gorilla in a cape, it's the good shit. Just one hit, you so lit, you fall into a bit, non-bit. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie, obliteration of the carnation with gross castration, skewed citations by your intimation. Get real, young man, there's only one stand. You can't stand a suntan, how you gonna live on the land? Obliteration of the carnation with gross castration in skewed citations by your intimations. I'm a truth in rotation, you're a cheap imitation. Dark said hums, 808s make the ground shake. Cold as the grave, every word's a land quake. You're a flicker in a cipher, I'm the flame that won't fade. Step into the night where the shadows are made. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie. I'm gonna clank another hit of this good shit, and I'm already it, so take over this bit, non-bit.
for joining us at Personality Inventory Mockumentary Production.